That's what you do for a job?
What, me? Where's the
Where's
the document?
Where's the PDF? Where's the document?
Yeah, a lot of it is, yeah.
All right, we're alive.
No, are we?
Where's the TPS reports?
Tim, do you want to run opener or do you want to run show? What would you like?
Oh my gosh, I don't know about running the show. I don't even know if I can do the intro because I don't even have that ready. But I guess I can do the intro.
I can do it since we're live right now.
Oh, okay, let's do that.
All right, Jesse, we're live, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Nintendo Dads episode 325, recorded on May 6, 2021. On tonight's episode, ladies and gentlemen, Business Justin's here because it's money, money, money. It's the financial reports. Woo, woo, woo. Plus, did Nintendo just sneak LABO 2.0 at us yesterday? Maybe. And Jesse and Tim, they're playing the Pokémon Snap and they're taking pictures. So that means I've at least got a 25-minute power nap. Jesse, cue the music. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Nintendo Dads. We are so excited that you're here. And I am your host of this dumpster fire of a show, Justin Masson. And of course, joining me are two gentlemen whose beards I am jealous of every single time that I see them. First and foremost, of course, the man who makes us sound semi-decent, Jesse Waldak. Jesse, how are you, sir?
No, he makes us sound like the Nintendo Dads. We're the only ones who make that sound. So.
Yes, that's a good point.
Was that a good thing or not?
I don't know. There's a bumper that would almost align with that kind of commentary, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I can't play it now because I already have the music playing
just
low.
So much.
I can bring it back later.
That's
too much.
That's the Nintendo Dad sound.
I know, right? Come on now, Jesse.
Sorry, Jesse.
I only have one mixer level. It's either.
Why else do we have Patreon? We can get you billions of mixers, right? That's why we run this crazy show.
Real estate for that.
I'm so tired of your. Listen, you end up running the show solo last week. You get this big chip on your shoulder, like you know what's going on. You swagger in here like you're big, going, some attitude and kerfuffle. How are you?
That I wasn't expecting a question after all that.
I know. I didn't. I actually ran out of real estate. The brain petered out.
See, I told it happens.
I know.
But yeah, but before the show, my wife had me bring all the cat stuff downstairs because her friend, who's getting ready to move to Texas, will be spending tomorrow night in the house because they're they're locking the door and getting the keys over. And these people have 3 dogs that will literally eat a cat. So our cats cannot be anywhere around. And since they'll be here tomorrow morning, probably before I wake up, they all had to be down here tonight, which means I started the Zoom call sweating, dripping. I'm like, I look beautiful, don't I?
Hey, you do look beautiful.
You were glistening.
Speaking of beautiful, Detroit in the house. Timothy off. How are you, my American treat smuggler of a friend? How are you today, sir?
You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to talk about that.
Right. I apologize. How are you?
I'm good. I'm great. I'm doing wonderful. I'm rusty even after just being off for 2 weeks, obviously, because I forgot to put notes down for the show to begin with. So I'm just going to sit back and watch.
Yeah. Right. I mean, man.
Wait, I was supposed to be a participant in this.
Who's approving that time off in the office? I don't remember signing off on those sheets.
I do what I want.
That is true. But you have that kind of swagger as well. I appreciate it.
Where's my espresso?
We need an intern on this show. Well, guys, I'm so excited that you're here, and also I'm so excited that everyone in our chat is here. I see you, Chris. I see you, Jason.
How are you doing, Justin?
Dragon, Antonio. I'm doing all right. Thank you for asking. I appreciate it. It's been a day, right? Or it's been a hot minute. I wasn't here last week. But yeah, it's good. I'm excited. There's starting to feel a little bit of the Nintendo magic coming on. You know what I'm saying? Feeling the moves, feeling the excitement, feeling the dancing. We're getting ready for E3.
Just when you think there's no news.
Right? Just when you think that. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, we're like 1 month away from E3. So the hype train is starting to roll. And I'm excited. We got some good stuff coming up this on tonight's episode. We got a lot of information, a lot of stuff to dive into. Thank you. Thank you. Third Strongest Mole, I see you as well. K9 Cantina, thank you very much for being here. Man, it's so good to be surrounded by friends. It's so good to be here, and we're excited to jump into it. So why don't we just jump right into the news? Tim, who's the news brought to us by?
7-Eleven? Still? No?
You know what? I'm trying so hard. Really. Like I go in there, I get a Slurpee, and they're like, would you also like a taquito? And I say, would you also like sponsorship on one of the coolest Nintendo shows out there? And they're like, sorry, what do you do? And they never respond back.
And then that's where our Patreon step in. They come in and do that for us every month.
Yeah. I would get rid of our Patreon patron supporters for a good taquito or two. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not above that. I just want people to know that. Like, I have a line, 2 or 3 taquitos is probably it.
We would sell out for taquitos.
Oh, for sure we would. For sure. Maybe a corn dog,
you
know? Yeah. The stuff that you shouldn't have, the stuff that like you eat it and you're like, oh, this is so good. And then like 30 minutes later, you hear it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, no.
Justin disappears from the podcast and has to take care of business while we run the show.
Yeah. But of
Jesse,
course,
do they have anything there that you can even eat there at 7-Eleven?
Maybe a hot dog with no bun.
Okay. Well, there you go. See?
Yeah.
We're all set. We're ready, 7-Eleven.
Yeah. Come on. Let's do it. Do it. Of course, I digress. We are absolutely. You could buy me for corn dogs, says Antonio. NHL 94 would be retro or rewind would be a great sponsor. I love that as well. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. You're bringing that energy. I appreciate it. But of course, we appreciate our amazing Patreon supporters who support us every single month to keep this dumpster fire going, to fill our tummies with taquitos and weird hot dogs that make us ill later. And of course, we're funding to get Jesse another sound mixer. So I'm tired of his excuses. That's really why we're here. Ladies and gentlemen, and I, we know this. Go to patreon.com/NintendoDads. If you've been here before, you've heard the rant, you know what to do, blah, blah, blah. I am excited because we have some amazing guests lined up, actually, as I speak about E3, hoot, getting on the hype train. We have got some guests that we're going to be announcing pretty soon to get us in our build up for E3. So, but folks, I'm ready. I'm getting excited. Oh, I see some subs as well. Ebersol, thank you so much. I just saw that sub as well. Antonio, thank you. Oh man, so much love today on Twitch, and everyone's here because it's money day. It's financial reports. Let's dive into this thing, guys. I think we can probably make the quickest episode ever. Let's summarize. Nintendo be making the money, be making it rain. Let's move on to what we've been playing. But
I told my wife, like, the one line I like to look at is the cash on hand.
Yeah.
And it's literally, they have their numbers in millions of yen, and the number is over $1 million.
Yeah. It's
converted it to US dollars, and it's over $10 billion with a B in cash.
Outrageous stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Goes,
like,
what did I do with all that cash? And I said, apparently nothing, because they still have it and haven't spent it.
Well, that's the argument.
They're not buying companies except for the one developer they bought. Yeah,
and that's the interesting thing. I mean, Nintendo is and no shock here, Nintendo is a conservative company, right? And they have always strategically been. And I think this was the interesting, this is the part where people were like, hey, during the Wii U, Nintendo needs to stop the hardware, just do software, right? Sell off Mario. You need to survive. If you know anything about Nintendo, like literally their war chest could get them through decades of survival in regards to, boy, we've had a couple Wii U's. Like they could have like 4 or 5 Wii U's back to back and still be like, yeah, we're okay. They have built a dedicated war chest to be able to survive those type of things. Yeah. So it's interesting. But of course, last year, they opened up their war chest and put a lot more money in. So let's break down the financial report because this is kind of important pieces of information. Jesse, maybe I'll throw it to you because I talk a lot about this stuff, but can you round us off with some big numbers? Of course, how many units were sold, or what are we sitting at now for units?
So for the last quarter, so January 1 through March 31, they sold 4.7 million, which doesn't sound like much compared to the last number we said. But of course, that was holiday season. First quarter in a calendar year is generally the lowest. But it still is higher than last year's first quarter. To a total of 84.6 million units worldwide.
Wow. So that's a pretty big number, right? And so how many, what was it? Let's talk about like what the actual sold was. Like, so how many units sold? What's the breakdown of that?
28.38 million units was sold during the fiscal year. So April to March, which has now outsold the Game Boy Advance's 81.5 million, leaving only three consoles left to overcome. The Wii at 1.1, Game Boy at 118, and the DS at 154.
Tim, this is kind of interesting to you, though, right? Because you said, let's talk about this difference between the handheld and the home console. I've always been like, man, round of applause, Nintendo's doing banger. And you're like, they are, Justin. However, let's look at some other numbers together. So, Tim, talk to me about how this kind of breaks down in relation to what the large picture is and what the pieces, what we should really be looking at to say, are they doing as well as they are?
I wouldn't say it's something we really have to look at. I think it's just something else to look at as well, because I like looking at the numbers individually, because obviously that gives us our milestones that way. But I also like to look at it because this is a hybrid console. If that we have to compare, not have to, but I'd like to compare it to the other systems, home and handheld systems combined, because now that they don't have the two pillars separate, it's one. I like to see I keep saying we, like I'm Nintendo and the Switch, but how is it doing compared to the same numbers combined in the home and handheld system? For example, and I posted this in Twitter as well, is in a screenshot of what I created was a screenshot of their number hardware, 84.59 million units that they sold last year in the fiscal year, compared to, for example, the Wii U and 3DS, which is 89.5 million combined. So if you look at that together, that's pretty darn good, in that regard for hardware. I mean, it is looking at the Wii U and the 3DS, but still 84.5 versus 89.5, they're coming up pretty quick on that in the combined state. So, and then but then when you go to the Wii and the DS, two really hot systems, hardware,
the best console and the best handheld in the same generation, it's going to be hard to top that.
Hardware is 255.65 million units together. So they got a long way to go with the Switch. But again, Switch is really hot as well. So that's why I wanted to look at it. The Wii and the DS family of systems were really hot at that time as well. So if the Switch is hot, making them lots of money, is it enough money compared to that system and the two pillar system, And then also looking at the software, you can even look at it that way, which is software currently for the Switch is 587.12 million units versus the Wii U and DS, the Wii and DS software, which was 1,870,000,000, I think it was, if I'm reading that right.
It was over 1,000
units
millions.
Of software. 1,000 millions, yes. So, but one interesting thing that one of our Patreons brought up, or in our Discord, was looking at the software numbers per device, the average, which when we discussed it was basically a Switch is bringing an average of 7 software pieces per device.
Yep.
Where the Wii and DS was 7.5 per device. So the software, if they're making money that way as well, is pretty good because they're only about 0.5 away.
Yeah. Well, I think the interesting part for that, though, I would challenge you a little bit on that, Tim, is that we're not necessarily apples to apples in that. And what I mean by that is if you think like a Nintendo first party game on a DS was approximately $40, where every Nintendo first party game on the Switch is like $60, right? Or translate to your local currency, whatever that is, right?
Yeah,
so they're making more,
and DS games were like 35.
Yeah, so they're definitely making more, so I think you're right in the sales numbers, but from a financials, they're probably about par.
Well, and think about it too, is it is more. Switch is $60, right? Compared to the cheaper amounts that the Wii and the DS had in their software. Yeah. But it is more easier to get the software nowadays, as opposed to when online purchasing was just starting on the DSi.
Yeah.
And then eventually got its way to the Wii.
Yeah.
In WiiWare. So, it was in its infancy at that time. So, and just starting where people were buying pieces of software at that level too. So
I'm looking at the chat here. I love this. Ebicel and Datfest are both saying, they're like, I am definitely propping up like 20 Switch owners who only have one game.
I did the math earlier, and because in order to average 7 games per console, because I said I bought 9 games in the last 2 months myself, and that doesn't include like the free codes and whatnot I've received. So, for every person that has 100 games, and there's probably a dozen of you out there listening, at least, that has 100 games, there's 16 people that has one game.
Yeah,
I'm like, how I can't even imagine only owning 7, much less only one.
Yeah. It's an interesting number to go against as well. Let's break down those sales numbers a little bit more in some detail. A question that's typically asked, I think, of this, which I find very interesting, especially as you think of last year. So the critical part to think about is we were in a pandemic, right? And we know Nintendo consoles were selling really, really well. And what did this actually mean for a breakdown? Because I think whenever I think last year and I think like Nintendo, I think Animal Crossing, and I think the Switch Lite, right? Those are kind of the two things that I correlate together. And I don't know why, if I just naturally think Animal Crossing is a much more on-the-go device, much more casual market, much more kind of like entry level. And so the 28.83 million units that were sold last down is actually broken down into 2 categories: the what I would call the OG Switch and the Switch Lite. And the OG Switch sold at 20.32 million, with the Switch Lite at 8.51 million. So interestingly enough, I was anticipating we were actually going to see the Switch Lite sales a little bit higher than that. But I mean, collectively, when you look at kind of this, it's about 35% of the sales last year were Switch Lite as well. Jesse, what do you got there?
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's been pretty consistently that Switch Lites has been just under half of Switch sales, pretty much, with the exception of its launch, where it had a bit of a spike being the launch. And, next month might be spiked a little bit with Blurple coming out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hold on a second. I went through this actual report, and Nintendo confirmed it as blue. All right. I went through it. They talked about the future things. They said blue. They did not say Burple or any of that, Blurple or any of that.
Blue color.
I will also tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we have got a Nintendo Dads exclusive. I'm going to break it down to you right now. Barry Dunn, great friend of the show, is getting a Nintendo Switch Lite. He's going to tell us what color it is. We're going to get some live footage from him to tell us what color that is in the coming days, as well as that console launches early over in the UK. So we're excited to really answer those real hard hitting questions that Nintendo Dads look to answer here as well.
Cool.
Jesse, what else about the sales number should we maybe be paying attention to?
The top 10 software lists ultimately didn't move. The last several quarters, Animal Crossing has been outselling Mario Kart 8, but just never passing it. This time, Mario Kart 8 kept a 500,000 unit lead, selling almost 2 million units in 3 months.
And I suspect that connection, that lead there, is most likely due to the bundling sales. Would you not think that? For the Christmas bundles. I guess no. This is Q.
This is starting January, so
yeah. I apologize when I said after it came out of my mouth. I was like, "That's not right."
Well, wait a minute. So I know Mario Kart 8 is still on top overall since its release. It still has the most numbers, but in the fiscal year, Animal Crossing still sold more than Mario Kart 8.
My comparison was just in the last 3 months.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so throughout the year,
For the quarter.
Animal
Gotcha.
Crossing sold almost 30 million because they launched just 2 weeks shy of the fiscal year start.
Yeah.
Where Mario Kart 8 has been out for 4 years. And then, everything else kind of like seems to fit in its normal spot. Nothing else moved. Kind of going in, they announced that there's now 22 first-party games that are million sellers.
That's fantastic.
And I listed them all out. Somehow I missed Link's Awakening in the last list 3 months ago, but they're at 16 with 5.5 million.
Yeah.
And where's the other one that was new? Yeah, Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury, 5.6 million units. So new to the list since it wasn't there last quarter at 15th place. And in less than 3 months was only 280,000 units shy of the Wii U's version sales, and they've since passed it.
And that's a great call out. I mean, this is a game that was released at the end of January. So I mean, it had about 2 months and a couple of days to kind of hit that run rate and kind of coming in the list at number 15 at 5.59 million. That's a significant kind of jump on the board, but I think it just goes back to the idea of just how much the Mario IP, that brand sells, right? Nintendo knows that. They're not stupid, right? When you also look at, I'm looking at the results here, Super Mario 3D All-Stars, landing, at 13, at number 13 on this list at just over 9 million copies, right? And again, that was a 6-month run rate approximately for that as well. Again, just strengthening that Nintendo brand and the Mario brand.
Then Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, just over 3 million, which went from 16th down to 19th. But those numbers are not, they don't include Japanese sales because it was published by not Nintendo. I forget who published it.
Sure.
But they published it worldwide, so those numbers don't include Japan. I think that's the only game that qualifies.
Okay.
And then with
nice.
The Ring
ultimately, no wait, no, that's the composer.
The Ring Fit
Koei
Adventure
Tecmo. Sorry, Koei Tecmo.
Oh, that would make sense because they developed it. And Ring Fit Adventure actually passed Luigi's Mansion to get the 11th spot. Just crossing 10 million units.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, overall, I as we kind of look at these numbers, not a big shock. They did very well last year. I don't think any of us are shocked by that. I'm interested to see, and I think the transitional question that I would have, and I think like as any investor would have, or anyone as we look at this, is cool. So what next? Do you know what I mean? As any investor is going to say, awesome, you had a great year. Round of applause. Cool. And also, by the way, really great year in a global pandemic, right? Like, yay, when you're looking at something like PlayStation, Xbox having difficulty getting their devices on their platforms on shelves, right? Nintendo is kind of in that sweet spot. As we transition over to 2021, 2022, they're running into their fourth. Will we deem this their fourth year or fifth year of the console now?
Fifth year.
Launched in 2024,
right?
Yeah, completed 4 years. What's next? What does Nintendo do? And Nintendo began to kind of tell us a little bit of that story, Jesse. So what are some things that we need to know about the projections?
So they in the report, which because they also mentioned upcoming first-party games that are already out. So I think these numbers are as of March, not necessarily as of today.
Correct.
They were forecasting about 25 to 26 million units for this fiscal year.
Yeah. Yep.
Then go ahead.
I was going to say, now that's a little bit of a different number, because earlier in the week or earlier last week, we began hearing this rumor that they were projecting 30 million. And this began to kind of get the internet to buzz, internet of fury. Right. Nintendo has now, though, basically said, no, here's a number we're actually going to use, which interestingly enough is a number less than what they sold this year. So they're actually projecting less sales than last year. So let's break that down.
5, it kind of makes sense.
Correct.
Because most Nintendo systems only have a 5-year life cycle. But here's my thoughts. So the 30 million, I don't think Nintendo themselves said it. They've been reported by Screen Rant and other people based on things they've heard or rumors.
Mm-hmm.
And Nintendo reporting 25 million also hasn't said anything about a successor or a step-up console, Mark III, as I like to put it. So it sounds like if this 30 million is to be believed, that would include the 25 million plus N million of the not yet announced console.
Sorry. So let me be very clear on what you're saying here, Jesse, just so I'm clear. You're saying, well, sure, look at Nintendo is conservatively saying 25.5 to the shareholders, to the investors, because they have not yet announced a successor, a Switch Pro, which we're going to call it for now. But like the actual target is 30, but we're saying 25 because we don't want to announce a Switch Pro. Is that correct?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, interestingly enough, for those of you that are maybe playing at home, scratching your head, this number that they're projecting, 25.50, is actually 11.5% less than last year's sales. And the other interesting part that I also want us to lean into here is the software sales, because this is a bit of a challenge, right? Because if you're saying what's going to move 25 million Switch units, what's going to move 30 million Switch units in a cycle where you're now at 5 years, a couple things has to happen. Here's what I think has to happen. You either have to have a brand new console, so Switch Pro, you either have to drop your price to make it more accessible and make it kind of, the OG Switch, $50 reduction, the Switch Lite's reduction.
A little more impulse buyable.
Correct. Exactly. Or you need to have banger software that is finally the thing that makes you pull the trigger and says, now I'm buying the console. Now I'm doing it. And interestingly enough, if you look at Nintendo's report here, last year in 2021, they sold 230 million units. Wow, that is a banger.
The software?
This year, they're projecting to sell 190 million units in software for those. Now that is a 17.70% reduction, almost 20%. So they're actually saying, we believe we're going to sell 20% less of the software in our next year than we did last year.
Well, they know they're not going to have a 30 million unit seller.
Correct.
They could have multiple 6 or 7 million sellers.
Correct. Right now, so this is a very interesting place, because the question that we will get asked is Breath of the Wild coming out this year? Right? Is Breath of the Wild 2 a game, a console that we know will sell really well? Is that going to come out here? Or here's the other thing. Are they taking in consideration the fact that Animal Crossing hit at the right time and became the game of the pandemic, and that created such a fever that they had to create more of a conservative number based on what it could have actually been or what it would actually be. And so they're reducing it. Because here's the thing, Nintendo can't say, to your point, Jesse, there's nothing in their lineup that will give them a 30 million seller again on a one-shot year. Nothing in their lineup historically would ever do that.
Right.
So they're reducing that number out of the equation. And I think to your point, yeah, Breath of the Wild could come out. Because if you look at the Breath of the Wild numbers, that's about a 20 million seller, right? You need to take that number, that 190 million, and you need to start kind of figuring out what are the sales run rates of games that they have that would help get them to 190 million. Because it can't be onesies and twosies. Do you know what I mean? Guess what's not going to get them to 190 million? This Nintendo Garage game ain't going to do it. Sorry.
Mario Party?
Mario Party might do it. A new Breath of the Wild is going to get them those numbers, right? Another Super Mario might get them that numbers. I'm sorry, Tim. Metroid will not get them that numbers, right? Another Pokemon
this year, anyways.
Pokemon's going to get them those numbers, right? That's interesting. We've got three Pokemon games
this fiscal year.
Right? Look at the sales numbers on Pokemon games. You're averaging about 20 million. You got 3 of those hitting between the end of next fiscal report. There's 60 million. Take that equation out.
And well, with a lot of people, many people will double dip buying the diamond and the pearl together.
Yep.
But when it comes while I don't think Arceus will be double it'll probably maybe be 150% of
I don't know
diamond or pearl is.
Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not in our Twitch chat, you're not in our YouTube chat, what are you doing with your life on a Thursday evening? I don't know, because you should be here. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you right now, breaking news, what Chris 94 said that's going to get them to 190 million. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. NHL 94 Rewind. Let's go. Let's go.
He's been talking about that game all day.
God bless him. He's going to live and die by that flag. Do you know what I mean? I love it. Love it.
Well, you know why he mentions that, right? I mean, not just because he likes to mess with Marty when he's here in that regards, but it's because of there's a feverish fan base for that game that plays it online. And there's a reason why EA Sports created it and put it Rewind in their NHL 2021, whatever it is, the recent release. So with that being out, there's a lot of fans that want to play it on the Switch, want to play EA games. And myself being a fan of EA Sports games, I know the Switch can't do what they put on the bigger consoles, the other consoles.
Mm-hmm.
I know that. The only way that I'm going to be able to play it on my Switch is either they bring it over via xCloud, let's say, if xCloud comes to the Switch.
Yeah.
Or they just bring over NHL Rewind to the Switch by itself and sell it.
Yeah.
And with the numbers that they sold, we're thinking that there's enough fans that it could be, I don't know about buying more Switches, but at least, there's more fans who maybe didn't buy a Switch, who are playing it on their PC because they can go there, maybe will buy the Switch and also NHL 94 Rewind if it came out for the Switch to play it there.
For sure.
So there's a fan base there just that would bring up more numbers, but not that 30 million you guys are talking about, obviously.
What? So I think we're going to talk a little bit more about how we're going to get there. Speaking of how we get there in the sales, one of the things that I found very interesting in this report I want to call out, and again, not a shocker. We were in a pandemic. We weren't allowed to leave houses, right? We weren't allowed to go anywhere. Digital sales are up by 8%. And so for the fiscal year of 2021, digital sales were at 42.8%. So that is up 8% from 2020. So interesting enough, we continue to see that march on digital sales. And again, of course, if you're not able to leave the house or Amazon's not showing up at your door, this is probably how you're getting a lot of it. It'll be interesting to see that number continues to grow for Nintendo and has quarter over quarter as well. And I think that we're going to see that occur as well. Gentlemen, we've talked a lot about, is there any other big numbers, Jesse, you want to talk about before we maybe start talking about how Nintendo reaches 190 million? We've talked a little bit about maybe some theories, but anything else?
I can't think of anything. At the end of the report, they always show upcoming games of both first party and third party. And like the majority of the games listed were games that already came out in April. So, but those things that they've added, whereas the Project Triangle strategy for 2022, Pokemon Legends Arceus for 2022, and then the same 3 TBA games that it's been on the list for a year are still here. Bayonetta 3, Metroid Prime 4, and the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yep. Yeah, a couple of the things that they have called out, and this is the interesting part, and what they have called out here is their product announcements or their communication they have done now is from April to June. So what they have identified here is the new Nintendo Switch Lite with what is called the new blue color. And that's coming out on May 21st. Now, I think that there is a market for that, right? Anytime we put out a variant, right, whether it's a Nintendo Switch Lite or a Nintendo Collector's Edition, there are those collectors out there who would just go buy it no matter what. Every time I see this, I think Bobby Pauls, right? Because he always had every Switch Lite, and God bless that guy.
I showed my son a picture of the new Switch Lite. In fact, I think it was from your thumbnail when we talked about it. Tim, and he goes, "Is that Switch photoshopped?" I'm like, "No, that Switch is real. Everything else on that picture is photoshopped."
Nice.
Right.
So other games they have announced here is April 30th. Obviously, Pokemon Snap, and gentlemen, we'll be hearing all about your Pokemon snapping and taking photos like some weirdos very soon. So I'm excited to hear about that. May 21st is Miitopia coming out. And then yesterday, Nintendo announced Game Builder Garage, which we're going to spend a lot more time talking about later today. And then Mario Golf, not Mario Kart, Mario Golf. I was saying golf carts. Mario Golf Super Rush. Those are the 4 games that Nintendo is kind of saying, these are what we got between April and June. And then
they're saying that DC Superhero Girls Teen Power isn't going to
listen, I'm looking at the picture that Nintendo has provided. Okay. I'm not scrolling.
Well, they also had
further
Zelda in that picture too, don't they?
No, they don't. Page 15 of the document, because they're only capturing April to June.
Oh, well, I thought I saw something.
Well, I don't think you did. Sorry. I don't think you did. Tim, as you look at this lineup, is this going to help Nintendo get there?
Is this going to help them get there in the first half? No. In the second half.
Oh, why the second half, Tim?
Because it's the holidays. They always have something up their sleeve in the holidays. Plus, you got the Pokemon stuff. So
hopefully, we'll find out in a month.
Yes.
Yeah, and I would argue I think Pokemon Snap will help them with that. I'm sure those sales numbers will be pretty strong when they come out as well. But I don't think like Miitopia, Game Builder, or Mario Kart, or gosh darn it, that's like a Freudian slip, right? I don't think Mario Golf is going to banger that number up to where it needs to be.
Another Freudian slip.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
They'll sell 15 million Shin Megami Tenseis.
Oh my gosh, get out of here, you.
We've been talking about it. I think we mentioned it in the prediction show that, and I probably say this every year, but last year was a fluke anyways, but this year I mentioned too that there's something up their sleeve. We don't know what it is. Obviously they've hidden it well. They're hiding it well, but there's something up their sleeve. Definitely. And it's probably going to be for the holiday.
It'll be interesting to see how many games I add to this list in 3 months.
That is it, right? Like, I think I do. And traditionally, like, as we look at their, like, because it's funny, everyone's like, oh my gosh, where's Zelda? We haven't heard about it. What's going on? Nintendo has like an entire 11 months to get.
Nintendo does what Nintendo does.
Yeah. To get to the number they projected, they've literally got 11 months to get there. They're not showing all their cards at once. That's not how they work. They want to show you the one thing. I want you to focus on the one thing, really, really focus on this. We're going to put all of our energy behind this. And when this is gone, here is a new thing you need to focus on, right? They're very much stacked that way of how they do not typically let their products overshadow the product they're selling. Right. So this is why go ahead,
Nintendo
Tim.
Doesn't want, how do I want to put this? Nintendo, the reason why I say what Nintendo does is because they live on their own time. They don't live by their fans or anything like that. They don't live by
or their competition.
It doesn't matter what they're doing. It doesn't matter what's going on. Nintendo will release when they feel like they're going to release it or know they can. For instance, like COVID, right? They were like, okay, we're just going to hold up everything, regardless of what's happening. So it's just going to be Nintendo will launch whatever it is they got up their sleeve when they're ready to launch it. We've read reports before of them holding things back because there was no need to do it, like new Game Boys in America, because there was no need to do it, or the next system or whatever, so because of another system selling well, which could be the case here. The Switch is blowing up. Switch is doing really well. Why do they need to bring anything else out? And plus, we got the processor shortages and all that, microchip shortages and all that kind of stuff. So they're not going to do anything in regards to pushing something out just because fans are asking for it. Yep. They're going to do it when they're ready to do it. So,
they're really. a master class in strategic, like marketing focus,
Yep.
right?
They
And
do it when they think we
Yep.
think we want it.
Yeah.
And we don't know we want it.
Yeah, that's exactly it too. And I think they also do a really good job. And one of the things I do appreciate about them is that, unlike a lot of companies, and they have had some misses when they don't do this well, is they do I don't mean to be rude here, Tim. I'm going to pick on Metroid Prime 4. It's so rare for Nintendo to flash a title card and say in development, because typically when they do that, that comes around and bites them, right? They are a company that is more likely to say this game is out in 6 months, right? Yes. There are 2 occasions where they've done that, at least that I can recall, that it has kind of bit them. Metroid Prime 4 and the original Breath of the Wild, right? Both of those ended up biting them. Both of those ended up getting pushed back. So they were great. And Bayonetta, right? Very rare. Yeah, sorry. There's 3. Very rarely does Nintendo do that because what happens is then the fans are like, where is it? Where is Bayonetta 3? Where is Metroid Prime 4? And the reality is what they want to say is, here's a game. It's available in 6 months. That's what you need to focus on.
Well, the other game that they've done this too, but we all expect it, is Zelda games. We know that, hey, it's just a hint of what's going on. We know it's going to take forever. It'll launch when it's going to launch. So when they did it with the Prime 4 and Bayonetta 3 and any of those other games, it always catches us off guard because of the fact that they don't release or say anything until 6 months at the most, it seems like. So
that reminds us about Final Fantasy VII Remake. That was like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Announcement and release.
Yeah, and Mecha Dragon, did they make a I'm sorry video with Breath of the Wild? They did for that delay as well. And thank you, Third Strongest Mole, for keeping me honest. Breath of the Wild 2 is also a now in development announcement as well. And that's why we're all like, and when is it? So
no, that's what I was saying. Zelda ones we expect. At least I do. I know that's not going to be on time, or they don't even say a date. They just said it's coming out. So
yeah.
Those things we expect from Zelda because they've done that for years, so it's just the other ones. It was just like, although they did do the videos, I'm sorry videos, we knew kind of what to expect with Metroid Prime now, with it knowing that they scrapped whatever it was they scrapped, and then Retro Studios took over.
Yeah.
And then that'll come out when it's ready.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Speaking of Metroid, and speaking of a fantastic segue, ladies and gentlemen, this last week comes a couple massive tech giants decide to battle out or continue to battle out in court, and that is Apple and Epic. And as legal proceedings happen to go, sometimes information gets opened up, PowerPoints, strategic initiatives, things, outcomes, plans, all this kind of stuff to be put in front of the judge and the jury as part of the evidence.
AKA made public record.
AKA made public record. And AKA, ladies and gentlemen, Monday was the day that Tim cried those deep, deep tears of Metroid, because it was revealed that indeed Metroid Prime, or Metroid Samus was being looked at as a skin to add to Fortnite, as part of kind of around that initiative, or when we saw Master Chief and Kratos arrive right around Game Awards last year, 2020. Now, there was no confirmed date if Metroid was indeed occurring. There was no skin drafts that we saw. There was none of that, but rather just kind of a slide, a holder on a slide to demonstrate it as well. Tim, a resident Metroid fan, how do you feel about this?
What was the point of that? I mean, if it was in their documents still, what's the point of that being there in regards to Epic and Apple battling it out? I didn't understand that part, which not necessarily tears. That was making me more angry.
Yeah, I was confused about why that was even brought up. The article I read said that Tim Sweeney, is that his name?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Prefers to play mobile over Switch, just because when you're not home, the Switch natively doesn't have network where a phone would, and you'd still need the phone to pair for it, to pair it to have that work. So, and he even fumbled with Joy-Con, and said, obviously I'm not a Switch player, and I think one of the attorneys even said that's understandable. Neither am I. So,
right, yeah. So it was. beyond just that particular piece, all of this is just ridiculous, especially how the court's been handling the documentation and all that kind of stuff. But that's probably no whole other topic to get into. But in regards to the Metroid thing, it's cool to see that they were trying to do something with Nintendo. It's a bummer that nothing happened, and I would have been more excited if I didn't know about this and then it just dropped if it actually allowed to, but now that's kind of ruined because it's like, okay, maybe they're still working on it and then it will eventually drop at some point, and because I was hoping it would be there when the Samus, the Kratos and Master Chief was there. I was like, oh, where's the Nintendo one? Would it be Samus? Oh, that'd be so awesome. I was ready to blow my money on whatever Samus thing came out. Yeah. But it didn't happen, and to see probably something else stupid's going to come up that'll make me even mad about it. Like maybe Epic was ready to pull the trigger and Nintendo changed their mind for some reason, or because Nintendo's done that before. Yep. Where they're ready to partner up and do something, and they just decide to change their mind and say, "No, we're not going to do that." So whatever.
Yeah, and that's a great point, right? Like, we are all like, oh man, it kind of makes awesome timing for when Master Chief is there and Kratos is there. For all we know, this could be part of Nintendo's strategy here in 2021 as, hey, by the way, when we're releasing the Metroid Prime collection, and by the way, we're celebrating Metroid in different ways. And did you know Metroid is now available in Fortnite? And by the way, there's a new Metroid Lego set. Like, there could be a whole celebration they're putting around it, because I think it's a character that like they haven't done a lot of work with. So to be like, hey, we've got Metroid, and you literally just throw in a battle royale, like, I think that might actually anger Metroid fans more than anything else.
Well, you did remind me of something too, that it's possible that Metroid was going to come out alongside something Nintendo was going to do, and it got pulled back because of that and put on hold. And maybe Epic was working with them to do something as well. At the same time, Nintendo was going to originally launch Metroid Prime 4, or whatever they were going to do with Trilogy. If that was something, whatever Nintendo's plan with Metroid was, could have been reason why it got put on hold. And maybe it still will come out closer to the time, marketing wise, where Nintendo's going to start focusing on Metroid. So it's still in the plans, but when it drops, hopefully it'll be a surprise again.
Yeah, it'll be cool. I'd love to see that, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of Legos, toys, and interesting things, Nintendo is at it again. And ladies and gentlemen, yesterday, we probably should have known this was coming, right? When we're like, oh, it's a day before their investors meeting. Boy, they feel like they have a bit of a thin catalog. What can they do? Ta-da! Nintendo shows up in the most Nintendo-esque toy maker way, where it announces what I'm almost calling, I've dubbed this kind of LABO 2.0, and this is called Game Builder Garage.
And I know Tim wants to agree with you for reasons, and I disagree with it.
Yes. Well, let's talk a little bit about Game Builder Garage. Learn to make games from the minds at Nintendo with Game Builder Garage for the Nintendo Switch. Programming made fun for all ages. There's guided lessons on how to build 7 games like Tag Showdown, On a Roll, and Thrill Racer. Create games with free programming, and you can share codes with friends. You can download their games and share yours as well. Open them or open up play them or open up the hood, collaborate on them together, up to 8 players, coming out on June 11th. This is the same week as E3, by the way, and is currently available on the eShop for $30 USD. It's $29.99 USD. It's $39.99 in the Great White North. Tim, what do you think of this?
I think it's really cool, actually. I want to gauge where my kids are going to feel about this. Well, I can't call them kids anymore. They're now teenagers. So, but
they're always kids. I still call my kids, and they're 21 and 20.
True. Very true. But I'm interested in it too. I kind of want to play around with it and build games with it. It's kind of like, Nintendo's version of Dream. For the PlayStation, where I know a lot of people were talking about that, and I was interested in that as well. But this is fantastic, especially for getting kids into the coding aspect or understanding coding, in that type of thing. So, and I'm also excited about it because of the potential of it being a LABO 2.0. because it is something I did wild card predict in the 2021 predictions. So I was like, this is gonna be LABO 2.0, right? Right?
Yeah, and here's the thing, and I hate to say this because you know that I am the three-time
Jesse has a counterpoint to that.
Champion for our bets. And ladies and gentlemen, I am pretty sure that the belt is being passed from the Great White North down to that Michigan sweet, sweet beer that is Tim. Because, man, he is on a hot streak right now. You, sir, Jesse Waldack, you are out of order. You do not get to debate me on this. I am throwing it down. I think Tim is right. He is 100% right.
What was your, Jesse? You had a good point. What was it?
Yeah, so someone in the chat goes, do you consider LABO the cardboard part, or do you consider LABO the creativity and with entertainment? And I'm like, I considered LABO creativity and entertainment with the cardboard. Otherwise, we just call this Lego 155.4. So I'm not calling this LABO 2.0. I would prefer to call this the LABO killer.
Yep.
I don't know.
This is taking technology that was originally developed for LABO.
Correct.
Something that I've never played with because I never opened up a LABO kit, so I've never put anything together. But I, saw the tools that they had to say, if someone pushes left on the Joy-Con, it can make your little bug vibrate a little bit. By connecting nodes to actions, etc., which is kind of exactly what this thing is, except for with on-screen objects instead of physical objects.
Yeah. I think this is such a great idea. And I'm looking at our chat. I know we're going through here, quickly scrolling through. Chris mentions his son is super excited for it. Antonio mentions it as well. I think, who else we got here? We got a couple, and I saw a lot of comments from parents saying this is awesome. Yes. I do think this is great, and I think the price tag is actually really good too. Like this, I mean, Nintendo could be like, it's an $80 game, and no one would buy it. But putting it like a price point of $30 or $40, that's pretty approachable. I think this is fantastic. It is, I think someone said it's like scratch for Nintendo. Great content. Yes, I see you, Timothy Alf. Yes, number one fan. Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to read what Nick's reply was to Jesse's thing about the LABO killer. And he said in our Discord, he said, it depends on what defines LABO for you. If it's the cardboard, yep, it's the killer. If it's the creativity and building stuff, then it really is 2.0. But then Jesse did come back and say, I define it as the use of cardboard for creativity and building. Otherwise, LABO could just be called Lego 155.4.
Okay.
Which, yeah, I said that earlier.
Yes.
Yeah, you did. I think this is great. This is Nintendo quintessentially being Nintendo.
Yes.
I think this is going to do well. I think like any schools that have Switches as part of their learning platforms that they may have had for when they had LABOs brought in. I know Mr. Vecca was a big fan of it as well. One of our guests from a long time ago, he had done a lot of LABO and STEM kind of creativity. I think any school that has these consoles in their offices will be picking up this. This will be used by teachers in development, right? Any way we can get, people or kids learning programming more and understanding it and its basics is such a great thing. So I think this is so awesome. I think my daughter is going to love this. She's kind of likes programming every once in a while as well. She plays a little bit on the iPad. So I think this is going to be super cool.
Yep. Yeah, I do hope.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I hope that they keep like the LABO stuff, if not for public consumption, for an educational consumption. Because I thought they did have a separate page for that for educational purposes. But if they don't, they should totally come up with a Nintendo education, Nintendo.com/education site for teachers to be able to go to and maybe get more of the cardboard kits to do LABO still on top of this coming out and be able to do that there.
Yeah.
And keep building on it.
Then I saw Arlo's video kind of talking about it, his opinions on it, and one of his things was is this like really programming? So far, it just looks like connecting dots. And my thoughts were, yeah, that's kind of how modern programming is. It isn't just typing code and letting it run. Unity. I think that's a big part of Unity is connecting, an action to a method or a function, literally by drawing a line and connecting two dots. And back when I did iOS programming, back in iPhone, before they called it iOS, it was like iPhone OS 2 and iPhone OS 3. There was a lot of that. It was similar. I'd type the code to design the functions, and then I'd have the UI of what I want the screen to look like, and literally connecting. If this is pushed, do this.
Yeah.
So this is part of real programming.
Yeah, I think this very much like something like a Mario Maker. I think is going to have just a real community around it as well. Right. I think there's going to be a lot of like, hey, check out this game and play this game, and here's a code and share. Right. Like, I just love this, and enabling or giving. I think this is very much your commentary, Tim, around the game Dreams as well. Right. Giving fans, giving creative individuals the platforms, the tools to do things, I think is really empowering to see what comes of it. Right. And there are sub communities now, like, is this going to sell 190 million units? No. Right. But it doesn't need to. This is one of those, like, this is Nintendo quintessentially being Nintendo and being that toy maker, which I think is so critical. I'm excited. Like, this game excites me from my kids' perspective, right? I think it's gonna be really awesome. I think there's so much education in it. And then I'm really excited to see the community that comes around of it, of like, oh, here's the game that you can try, and here's something I built. So it's awesome as well. I want to give a big special shout out. Jesse, maybe you can get a bumper ready. I see that we have an individual in our chat room who who was excited to call you Eric. Welcome, John, from the NinDads.
We sound
Jesse?
like the goddamn Nintendo dads all of a sudden.
Good, excellent. Thank you, John, for being here. Appreciate it. Good to see the NinDads. It's nice to pop by and see what an actual podcast looks like. All right, so let's continue to move forward in our day as well. Jesse, let's see here. Nintendo president, animation. We were looking into it, not just Mario. Let's do stuff. You want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's actually just a comment that was brought up. I'm not sure where, but it was in our information that Nintendo's president brought that up, that they were going to be concentrating on doing other animation other than Mario, the movie. Mm-hmm. And I also was wondering if it was connected to the Illumination founder, Chris Meledandri, set to join Nintendo's board. And there's actually a connection. We have a comment too from Jesus from our Patreon, who brought it up there.
Let's do it.
And he said, Nintendo wants to make more animation. Well, excuse me, princess. In all sincerity, wouldn't that be pretty cool? Imagine a tie-in game to the animated series F-Zero Bounty Hunter starring Captain Falcon, or Kirby and his friends, Amazing Friends, where the star isn't Kirby, but they get showcased in the new game. The tie-ins he's just excited about, obviously. Merchandise, music, apparel, Nintendo World, business. Justin, how many Pikmin is this going to sell? We already have Pikmin shorts. Let's make it a feature film, and we can start selling more Pikmin plushies. The Adventures of Lost Bulburb. Mm-hmm. Nintendo is going to be bigger than Disney. Slow down. Wait a minute. Let's make it happen, and don't say anything about Captain N. That was a younger, inexperienced Nintendo. They can do it this time. They have the fun.
That wasn't even Nintendo. Someone else did that animation just with Nintendo's permission to use characters, but didn't tell them how to use them.
Yes. But they are on that trajectory, right? Where maybe not as big as Disney yet, but they always said they've always looked up to Disney ever since they started, and that's why they did cards for Disney. They brought them over to Japan for them, and then now doing their own stuff, and then also they always looked up to Apple as well. So those two big companies they've always looked up to. At some point throughout their history, they're doing a lot of the same things. And I was going to mention that earlier in regards to the gaming garage thing, was that, again, they're created something nobody asked for, but they did it and said, here, we know a lot of you are going to like it. A lot of you parents are going to like this. And maybe your kids who are interested in this and they already have a Nintendo Switch will want to get this and start programming games. And then obviously you got all of us Nintendo fans who are going to want to do something with it as well. So again, it was something we didn't know we wanted. They gave it to us. So that's an Apple thing. And then of course with the animation, theme parks and all that, that's a Disney thing. So yes, I do think that this all ties in together with all that stuff.
Yeah, I think they could. I mean, I don't disagree with this. I think I'd love to see them create more animation, more of that. I think what they could really do, and I think the point that you're kind of referencing here, is leaning into franchises that right now don't really get the same level of love, right? And one of the things that Nintendo talked about for their mobile strategy was introducing games on their mobile platforms as kind of like if you love it here on our mobile, did you know we also have video games where you could play this there? Right. So could you see a Netflix series on something like, Star Fox? And I think that Star Fox animation they had done at the release of the most recent Star Fox was pretty amazing also. Right. I think like all of us were like, could we just have that? Like, could we just have that animated series? Because I think they could use some of these animation series or these, shorts or whatever to kind of like reinvigorate or reintroduce a franchise to people who either don't know it that well, right? Or to kind of begin to temper the waters or test the waters and say, is there a market for this before we begin to invest into development time as well? Or if you can do it really well, can you like kind of do the Marvel-esque opportunity, which is, can I tie in an animated short or a TV show, a 12 episode run on Netflix to the cliffhanger? And by the way, season 2 is out on the Nintendo Switch as a game that you play. Do you know what I mean? And like there's a connective tissue, kind of what we saw in the Marvel universe of it happened in the movies. How does it show up on Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? These kind of like cross medium stories that are being told. Could Nintendo find a franchise that they can do that with, where it's, I mean, you don't do that with Mario, you're not going to do it with Zelda because these are like top tiers, but could you do it with like a Star Fox? Could you do it with a Pikmin? Could you do it with something not, somewhere in the tiers that could use some support as well? I think that would be a very interesting place for them to play.
John says Pilot Wings, the movie.
Oh, sign me up. Sign me up.
I had a comment for that, but it's not a comment I can make here because it's a family-friendly show. But just think of the Samuel L. Jackson Snakes in the Plane. Mm-hmm. But think Goombas on the plane.
Oh, wow.
Get them off my plane.
If anyone who's listening to this right now can Photoshop a Samuel L. Jackson Snakes in a Plane image, but with Goombas, send that into Nintendo Dads, and the first person that gets one into us, I'm going to send you a $20 eShop gift card. Dang. All right, that is what we're doing. Let's go. Let's get it going.
Or use the Game Maker app to make a game based on that.
Yeah, there you go. Get the Goombas off the plane game.
Yeah.
Nice.
Exactly. Send that over to at nintendodads@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter, and that is Nintendo Dads. Again, the first person who can do a really good photoshopped image of Sam Jackson replaced with Goombas saying, get these blankety Goombas off my plane, $20 Nintendo eShop gift card. All right, let's move on to a couple other things we've got as well to talk about. We have got some upcoming games we're going to run through really quickly to make sure that we are aware of some upcoming releases. Upcoming releases to be aware of that have been announced. Wonder Boy Asha in Monster World is announced for May 28th. So that's coming up at the end of the month. This week as well, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 was announced for the Nintendo Switch on June 25th. Tim, are you excited for this? You're a skateboarder fan, aren't you, of this kind of genre, or am I just making some assumptions about
you? No, I love this stuff because I played a lot of it. I played a lot of those games in my younger days because I couldn't actually skateboard. But I enjoy the look of it and the music from it and all that kind of stuff, and hung out with a couple people that used to skateboard all the time. So, okay. But as far as the games go, especially the Pro Skater 1 and 2, I did buy it for the PlayStation 4, and I don't know if I'm gonna double dip though. I think I might though, because I didn't play as much as I wanted to on the PlayStation 4, and with the Pro Skater I can play wherever I want on the Switch, so I probably will buy it on there. So but and I'll be talking about the games I've been playing. That's another skating game, game. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. It is coming out 5 days after my birthday, so it's probably something I'll have on my birthday wish list.
Nice. Excellent. Excellent. And the other one to announce as well, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout has been delayed with the to be determined, but they did say that when it is releasing, it will have releasing on crossplay on all consoles as well. Disappointed about this one, but that's okay. I was expecting to see Fall Guys at the beginning of August of this year because I believe Sony had a 1-year exclusivity deal with them. So early August 2021 is what I was thinking. But, sure, look at if you can go and get crossplay, because this game needs to have crossplay. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is a game that needs to have crossplay. And by the way, you got all the Epic money behind you. You've got all the infrastructure who does Fortnite. You've got all the infrastructure of Psyonix who does Rocket League. You know how to do this properly. So this game is going to be in the same, I think, category as you look at the housing that Epic's doing for their games. I'm excited for this game. Disappointed I have to wait, but, sure, look at I've got enough games to play, and I'm excited for when it shows up as well.
Well, they're probably just waiting for the Pro to come out. Then they'll release it. So
that could be. That could exactly be it, right? All right, ladies and gentlemen. Shall we move on to Let's Discuss, Jesse? All right, let's discuss stuff. Yeah, I was like, I was just reading through the chat. I was like,
quick enough?
Holy cow, what just happened there? What just happened? All right. This question comes in. The 2021 Video Game Hall of Fame inductees. The field of finalists include classics like Guitar Hero, Pole Position.
Yes, we're not talking about anything.
This is not a Dad's After Dark show, right?
Nope, no, this is a racing game.
It's a racing game from...
nice try, Justin. Nice try.
I feel like you're both lying to me, and I also feel like if I Google Pole Position, I'm going to get some inappropriate stuff. So I don't feel like I trust either of you.
I don't disagree that might happen, but
right.
we're talking about an arcade game. I think it's from Sega.
It was one of my first racing games I have ever played. In fact, yeah, it was my first racing game. I played Pole Position at home.
Yeah,
on the 5200.
Yeah, racing up and down the pole.
No.
All right. Portal and Farmville are also included on that list as well. The Strong National Museum of Play has announced the 2021 inductees in the Video Game Hall of Fame, including Animal Crossing, StarCraft, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, and Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yes. You know what that means? You are the Nintendo Dads and guests 2021 Nintendo Dads Video Games Hall of Fame inductees. Each of the Nintendo Dads and guests, if there is one. What are you putting in your Hall of Fame for video games?
Yeah, so a reminder, last year at this time, or actually they did it earlier than last year because I think we didn't do this until June. Mm-hmm. But last year, 2020 inductees, we decided to create the Nintendo Dads Video Game Hall of Fame. And we had a list of games then, and which was it? And I'll remind you what those were. Last year, you picked Super Mario Brothers 2.
Okay.
Jesse picked Donkey Kong, the arcade game. Marty picked Mega Man 2 for the NES. Gary picked Tetris for the Game Boy. I picked The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo. Roger picked Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. And Zach picked Pokemon Red version and Pokemon Blue version for the Game Boy.
We invited Zach?
He was a guest, I think, at some point, and that's why he got
doors. Oh my God! Really?
He's now a guest status. No, no. He shows up whenever. He's like the Bruce Wayne of Nintendo Dads, I guess. Or shows up whenever
on his hammock in his yard.
On his hammock, yeah.
All right. Sure. Look at now. Let's get into this thing.
So for 2021, what are our inductees into the Nintendo Dads Video Game Hall of Fame? And I reached out and actually asked the other show hosts too as well. So if you want a little time to think about it, I'll mention what they picked, and then we'll get to what Marty also picked, and then get to you guys. So I'll go backwards here, starting with John Datfast on Retrologic. He picked Harvest Moon for the Nintendo 64. Dan picked from also Retro Logic, Donkey Kong Country for the Super Nintendo.
Dan has now become my favorite of all the other guests, of the other hosts. Dan is now my favorite. I'm not even hiding that. I love you, Dan.
All right. Sean picked from our, NinDad Crossing crew. He picked Street Fighter 2 Turbo for the Super Nintendo. Nick has to stew on his a little bit, so he'll get back to us on that. Drew from the Dad's After Dark show, he picked GoldenEye for the Nintendo 64.
Drew has also become my second favorite now.
John from also the Dad's After Dark show.
He wrote a novel.
He actually gave us a whole explanation of why he picked this.
Oh my God.
But he wrote, I am nominating, which I don't think he understood, but this is going in, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out for the Nintendo. So he's put that into the Hall of Fame for the Nintendo Dads, and he said this is one of the greatest adaptations of an arcade game ever made and unarguably better than the original. Not just a great sports game, but a great strategy game and puzzle game too. Figuring out the tells and tactics to beat each of the unique boxers was a load of fun. Working your way up the ranks provided so much unexpected storyline too, with encouraging between rounds advice from your trainer, Doc. Training sessions running by the Statue of Liberty, and even revisiting boxers bent on revenge, such as like Piston, Honda, and Don Flamenco. Playing as Little Mac put you in the mindset of the underdog. Each uppercut and knockdown made you feel like you were taking down Goliath, and each time you got knocked down to the mat filled you with a determination for revenge. The game is as fun and playable today as it was over 30 years ago. It hasn't aged one single bit. And its inclusion of Mike Tyson as the final boss, perhaps as fearsome to the gamers as he was in person to the other boxers, was implemented so spectacularly that he still fills me with dread today, especially in his HDMI lagged glory. And he said this is a perfect 10 out of 10, or in Nintendo Dad terms, 11 out of 10.
Nice.
So, and with that, it comes back around to us. And Marty, while he was off, quickly said Mario Kart 8 for the Wii U/Switch is his inductee.
Jesse?
Yeah, I was thinking more classic, like what game paved the way for other games. So, and my first thought was Dragon Quest, which, looking back on it, is not a very good game. It had a lot of problems. That's kind of expected if this is the first time you ever release a console RPG. There's been PC-based RPGs before, but this is like the first one that I know of that was released on a console. So definitely has more limitations than a PC. But so of the first generation, I would think it's kind of widely agreed upon that Dragon Quest 3 is the best of the first set of games. So that would be my nomination.
Okay.
Dragon Quest 3?
Yes.
Okay. For which system?
NES.
NES, okay. Is that the only system it was on?
No.
Okay.
It's been re-released a few times, but I'm going with the original classic implementation.
The original. Gotcha. All right. All right, sir. Do you have one yet?
I do, Tim. There have been some bangers that have been out there. Do you know what I mean? We have got Donkey Kong Country on that list. I love it. GoldenEye. I love it. These are amazing games. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you a game that deservedly needs to be in this Hall of Fame, that needs to be able to raise the cup above every other game. This game was on so many different consoles. You can even hear the groundswell for it. You can hear the rumbling for it. You can hear the shaking of the boards. You can hear the stomping of the feet. You can hear the crowd cheering from the top of the stadium as the puck drops. Of course, it's NHL 94!
For which system?
It's got to be Super Nintendo.
All right. NHL 94 Super Nintendo. You just made Chris a happy man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you just made a friend.
Right?
You're now his favorite dad, Nintendo dad, I'm sure.
Darn right. Well, you can, I mean, Canadian, right? You can't not say NHL 94, right? Like, come on.
There you go. All right. So for mine, I'm going to induct the a game that we've actually been talking about a lot and debating whether or not it should be in the Retro Rewind, considering how hard it is to get if you don't have it, or you have to play the mobile version or Steam version. And that is Chrono Trigger.
That's why I saw that one coming.
Chrono Trigger, I think, has to be in there because it holds up today. Where you play the Super Nintendo version, even I'm sure I haven't played them, but even the crappy versions, you can still probably still enjoy and play. But if you can play it in the Super Nintendo, or you can buy the DS version, whatever version you can buy. In fact, I saw somebody selling a what was that? Not remastered. What do they call it? It wasn't the original. They put it in a SNES cart where you can play it on your Super Nintendo.
Reproduction.
Reproduction, yes. So you can actually buy a reproduction version of it. I don't know how well that works. They say it works well. Of course they do. They want to sell it, but still. But I'm going to say
same thing as the Mother 3 cart that Marty and I have. That's obviously a repo because it never existed.
But I'm going to say it's the DS version, and I'm going to put it in the in the Hall of Fame, because the SNES one was obviously the first one to come out, but the DS one included some of the enhanced visuals in the game and didn't take away from the original. So,
which included the hand-drawn animated cutscenes that were originally introduced with the PlayStation 1 version, but that version had such slow, awful loading times, it kind of wasn't playable.
Right.
Yet I managed to play it. That's the first time I beat the game, was the PS1 version.
You got through it. But yes, that is my inductee. That is in my inductee into our Hall of Fame.
Great stuff.
So if we have any other guests, I'm sure we can ask them. And of course, we can get from Gary and Zach, and of course, Nick. We'll get theirs as well. But for now, that's what we have.
Fair enough. All right, let's head over to what we've been playing. All right, Jesse, Marty is not here. I want to make sure you're aware that Marty is not here, Jesse, but it's Jesse and Tim who are here, and that's the important thing with me. So here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. Jesse and Tim, I see you both have quite a list of games on here. I appreciate it. But ladies and gentlemen, the reason that people actually came here, other than just the numbers and the energy and the enthusiasm, is to hear you two gentlemen talk about the Pokemon Snap. And that's why they're here. That's what they want to know. They want to know your impression of the Pokemon Snap. Nintendo was kind enough to send us a copy of Pokemon Snap. So, gentlemen, I am going to provide you the floor. I'm going to then close my eyes for a good 30 minutes, I assume, and re-wake up when you're done. And not really care about Wobble Puffets or Pikachus or...
You don't want to know about the snapping of the Pokemon?
I don't really care.
Wobble Puffet? Wobble Buffet?
That's exactly it. But I want to hear about you two and how this has been going. So the floor is yours.
Tell us this is or what Pokemon this is.
Tell us about the Pokemon Snap.
Well, first of all, if you played this game, you would learn a lot more about Pokemon. But anyways, let's
He's already faded out. All right, so first, how far have you gotten?
I just opened up the island some more, so I just got through that first track of doing it daytime and nighttime and the illumination. Yeah, I got through finding the first illuminated Pokemon.
Okay, I've gotten to the second track, dark time. Okay. So I'm a little bit farther ahead.
Yes.
So
spoilers.
Yeah. So the game basically plays like the original game.
Which I've never played, by the way.
Okay, so it's like a rail shooter, but instead of shooting guns, you're shooting photos out of a camera. So you do have 360-degree rotation around you, but you're still stuck on the path and you can't deviate from the path. You can't slow down, you can't stop unless the game does it.
For you.
Like sometimes a Pokemon will run into you. You'll stop. That'll always happen. That's not a big surprise. At least after the first time, it's not a big surprise. Right. So trying to think of what I want to say here. So I think the game really has pacing problems. I think it's really slow. Not, the actual track itself is fine. That's kind of what I expected. But just the overall story, if there is a story to this game, you have to...
Of course there is.
I haven't found it yet.
Discovering all the Illuminati Pokemon. There, it's got Justin interested now.
Tell me more about this deep, crazy Illuminati theory of the Pokemon. I want to know this world. Now you've got me. Did you know it was all a secret society the entire time? Ash was actually the leader of it all? Oh my God. Let me know.
That's spoilers. Come on now. Jeez. We haven't unlocked that part yet. No, but the illuminating Pokemon is what you're discovering on this island that we're supposed to be, a myth or a legend, and somehow your character brings them out, and that's what you've discovered, and you're discovering more and more of these illuminated Pokemon and what they do, especially at night. And you're figuring out the history behind it. That's the story, essentially. That's what I got out of it so far.
So for each level, each stage, you start off with a daytime run, and then you have a level bar that starts level 1 that you as the better pictures you take, as in the size fills the shot better, the Pokemon's looking at you, the Pokemon's doing something unusual, there's more Pokemon in the scene, etc. All these things add additional points. So you get enough of these points cumulatively, you'll get enough points to unlock level 2, which then you'll have access to the the nighttime path. So it's the same level, maybe a slightly different path, but the Pokemon will behave differently. There might be different Pokemon out. Like, I don't remember seeing any Ariados spider Pokemon in the daytime jungle, but they're all over the place in the nighttime jungle.
Yeah, there's definitely different things that come out at night.
And then once you get, so then the dark path, the nighttime path, has its own separate bar. You've got to level up to level 2.
Yes, and that was a surprise for me when I saw that. I was like, wait, I've already got to that level. Why am I getting to that same level again?
It's not a U level. It's a per stage level, and I don't like that.
Yeah, it's a level. Yeah.
And then once you get to level 2 of the nighttime path, then it unlocks the Illuminous. I forget the exact term they use. So you like the first one, you're literally following this geranium from start to finish, and that's like the only Pokemon around, but he's glowing in the dark, and that's the MacGuffin of the game is to hunt down these glowing Pokemon, find out why they're glowing, etc.
And shoot them and mount them on your wall, right?
Or the pictures.
You're talking about the pictures. Take shots with your camera and hang them on the wall.
And then once you did that with the first island, then it unlocked the second island, and this thing looped. So that's
where the grinding comes in that I was talking about when I was mentioning that this is a game, and it has some of those, a little bit of RPG elements, like the grinding, I think, like, because you got to go through these levels several times to get different pictures.
I had to beat the day version of Jungle 3 times before I had enough points to unlock the nighttime, and I did not like that. The original
I actually didn't mind it. I didn't mind it that much.
I don't think there was any restrictions on the original game. You beat a path, the next path opens. You beat that, the next one opens.
Okay.
You didn't have to take pictures of everything.
Yeah, there was definitely more gaming. Like I said, I never played the original one, but there's definitely some gaming elements here with the grinding. to where you have to get, because there's different levels of pictures. There's a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star pictures
And
that
I
you
don't
got to get.
understand how the game differentiates one or the other. It's just like if you have a 1-star picture of a Snorlax, and then you take another 1-star picture of a Snorlax, you can choose which one you want to keep. You'll probably want to keep the one that has the most points.
But they also have on those pictures that there's one that's designated as this will go for a 1-star and this one will go for a 2-star. So and you have to pick. You can't pick them both at the same time either. Which
all I'm saying, if I do a run and have a level 1 Snorlax, and that's it now in my decks, the next run I do something to it and it now is a 2-star. So it will treat that as a new event. So I have 1-star and 2-star, and you can do this. So every Pokemon you can have up to 4 pictures saved, 1 for each star level. But I don't know what makes the game decide as 2-star, 3-star, 4-star.
Yeah, I don't know what picks it either.
I have a few 3s. I don't have any 4s yet.
I found a couple 4s, which was fine. I got those because they were unique pictures when I did the scan button and they did something while I scanned them and caught a picture of them doing that, or I caught them in action and doing something. That's when I usually get the 4 stars.
And this game gives you items to throw to change the Pokemon behavior. And
I haven't gotten that yet. Oh, I just got open up the apples. Sorry, that's
so they have an apple, which that came out of the first game too. That's basically the same. And then a scan technique, which will add additional information to your HUD. Some Pokemon will react to it.
And that's Metroid Prime-esque to me, where you actually have to scan.
One of the things I didn't like about Prime. And then there are things in the world that will say that wants you to scan it to get more information. Like, oh, here's a spider web. I bet there are spider Pokemon somewhere around here. And look up. Oh, there it is. Okay, and then you also have what's called an Illumin Ball. And then again, I forget the exact word they use, and every stage basically has its own color. So I don't know, when I get to the third one, I'll have to do something to unlock it. It won't just automatically be there, is my guess.
Yeah.
You can use that orb to cause certain objects, like plants and Pokemon, to light up. And they will probably, I think they'll give you more points. Might be
get you that 4-star. Yeah.
Yeah. So and other things in the game just seems off. So look, when you're loading a level, actually when it goes to a loading screen, you see like a bunch of lines kind of swoosh across, and these to a mainly white screen with a few small animations as the stage loads, and then you see another swoosh away to actually play the level. The first swoosh is like 10 frames a second. It's really distracting and annoying to me.
Really? I didn't notice that.
I think I don't know if it's just trying to load too much too fast, because it's just loading data at this point. The swoosh into the level is fine. It's always the swoosh into the loading screen is weird. And then,
mainly the times I play, I'm distracted talking to Sammy too, so maybe I'm not seeing it.
That might help you.
Yeah.
So and when it comes to judging the photos, it seems to, I don't remember it taking so long with the old game. You could be more, I thought it was a lot snappier. This seems like it goes on for a lot longer than it needs to. And then the fact that there are more Pokemon to take pictures of just makes it all drag out all the more longer.
It does take a while to get through those.
So I'm kind of liking the game. I'm not finding this to be great. Justin perked up that I'm still bashing the game a bit. Yeah, so but I'm still kind of fighting with it, playing it a level or two a day, but it hasn't gotten me to say I must play this game.
I actually am the other way. I do want to keep playing it. I haven't had a chance to because of the life sometimes too, getting in the way, or me wanting to try out some other things, either with Sammy playing games, or I sometimes do want to take a break from Pokemon Snap, so I don't play it. But I do think about it like, I need to get back there. I want to, explore some more. So I do like the exploring factor of it. And I do see the gaming elements of it. It is a game, unlike what Marty said. It's like he thinks it's just an app, or it plays like an app where he doesn't see the game in it. But there's definitely game in it. It just definitely doesn't sound like it's a game for Marty or anybody else who it doesn't. If like Jesse was saying, if you don't like dealing with turning in the pictures and it takes too long, I don't like that part either. Turning in the pictures, having to get them graded, or figuring out which ones you're going to turn in, or anything like that part to me is like, that's not the fun part. It's just I'm trying to get past it and get it done.
The arbitrary rule of you can only turn in one picture of a Pokemon per run, I may have two great Lipard pictures. I don't know which one I want to pick. So I have to throw one away, and that's
right.
My only option is to try to recreate that picture the next run, so I can turn that in, and that never works.
Yeah,
I think I had a 3-star Lipard one that I didn't turn in because I turned in a 2-star because that was new. 2-star and a 3-star were both new, but I picked the 2-star.
You can only pick one,
thinking I could reproduce a 3-star, and the next time I tried to reproduce it, I couldn't.
That sucks.
Dang it.
That sucks.
You crazy Jesse, thinking that you could do that. Everybody knows you can't. You can't do that. I really wasn't paying attention.
I'm not surprised.
All right, but anyways, I was saying that no, but there's definitely, you have to make sure this is a game for you. But I will have to say this: it's going to be more fun for your kids than probably for you.
I was going to say the same thing.
So, because as you saw, if anybody's watched the video I did with Sammy when I streamed it, he wanted to take over right away. He wanted to do stuff, but he was definitely bored with the same things we were, Jesse, with having to go through the pictures, which is why I would highly recommend Nintendo do a patch or a DLC or something that allows you to set a setting that allows the game to pick the highest pictures from the set you took.
Auto pick and keep going.
Just auto pick it.
I would
give me the
be
points
okay with that,
and give me the scores so I can move on through the paths. Because I would keep playing those paths several times because I liked what I saw when I went in there. It changed every time I went in there. Now, maybe I didn't go in there enough to see it change enough to stop changing at all. But every time I went in, there was always something new to take a picture of. Something new was happening on the screen that I had to go back and see, what was going on there, and be able to catch a picture.
On the first level, I missed a Pokemon altogether. I didn't see it. I did see it because you had to look up because it's an Emolga that's flying above you. So I saw it, but it flew by so fast I couldn't get it in my view. So that's one I know I got to go back and try to get that again the next time. But that's when I unlocked the nighttime version. So I just kept going. I never went back to replay the daytime version of the first board.
Right, and so that's why I think too this is a great game to play with your either with your friends or your significant other or your kids, where you can hand off the controller and say, hey, you go ahead and go first or something like that. Because then you can watch what they're doing as they're trying to take pictures of things. You can watch and see what's going on the screen. And then when it's your turn, you can come back and try it yourself and maybe capture some of those pictures you might have missed.
There's no online play with this, correct?
Currently, there is not. No.
Who knows? It might come in 2.5 years. Who knows?
Yes,
right?
It's a player one game. It's
there's
a one
not
player
even
game.
coach co-op other than just having a second pair of eyes try to point things out.
But you can make it your own couch co-op, is what I'm saying.
Right.
It's like I said, you can because the amount of times you have to the amount of times you have to go through that same path to get different pictures. You can hand each other the controller to take turns at doing it. So, and that's what Sammy and I were doing when we did the run through, and then even afterwards when I played it again. and the bigger TV. And it is a great looking Pokemon game too. It has some great visuals. So, which is really exciting. So
that's awesome.
I give it a thumbs up. I think it's a great game.
Yeah, and it was interesting. I was on the Nintendo Pals podcast on Friday, and it was Friday. They were both obviously hyped on Pokemon. We had a good conversation about it. One of the things that I think is very interesting about Nintendo and what I think they did here, and Jesse, you talked about this a couple moments ago, so I wasn't completely not paying attention, just slightly.
You just pretended to.
Yeah, is that Nintendo has taken what is in essence an on-rail shooter game, right, and modified that into a game that is more family friendly, right? When you think of an online shooter, again, just by the definition of the title, you think a shooter, right? Where instead it's now like, yeah, I am shooting, but I'm shooting my camera, and that kind of one more run or to go back and do better and increase your score. I think they do a really interesting job with that, and I'm really happy that this game exists because I know there is such a rich nostalgia for some people. And I know that this game hits all those buttons. And again, the lads over at Nintendo Pals were kind of in that demographic. And I think, as we saw with Sammy as well, like this definitely hits and is that right itch. I'm interested to see if there's going to be like a DLC strategy with this. Are we going to continue to see like, hey, because it's not all the Pokemon are there, obviously, right? We're a little crazy, but like, are we going to see like, hey, here's a new island if you pay, $5 or whatever it is, or $10. Interesting to see what this looks like. I'm also interested in seeing the sales numbers on this when it comes out. The other thing that I thought was definitely a great way that I think this game has evolved, and of course this is a social element, is like, I don't know about you guys, but Friday and Saturday and Sunday, my freaking social media stream on Twitter via the Nintendo Dads account was just full of people taking pictures and sharing that love. And I think that's fantastic and a great thing as well.
Yep. And I do want to mention this, that I really like what Nifrendo in our chat mentioned that can turn this into a party game really quick, is make this a Pokemon Snap, the drinking game.
Oh, yeah.
And I put in there, I want the rules for that. I want the rules for that, because then that will be interesting.
So does Sammy.
Yeah, well, no, this is going to be this will be like a late night one where I will do the drinking on the stream, taking a drink of whatever. Whoever comes up with the rules for that, I'll do a stream of that.
And then before we move away, for those who played the original game, there is a returning character in this game, so it is basically canonically a sequel.
Is it Pikachu?
And I have no idea who that would be.
Is it Pikachu?
Pikachu doesn't count. He's everywhere.
So he's returned.
No, it's probably who the professor keeps referring to that he keeps getting help from. I'm guessing. That's my guess.
Is it Pikachu?
Oh, you might have met him by now, but
Pika?
All right. We'll talk after the show, or we'll wait till next week in case you don't want to be spoiled.
Now, gentlemen,
I haven't gone to the lab yet to talk after I opened up everything, so maybe that's.
Oh, maybe you haven't met him yet, then.
Yeah,
but you'll meet him soon.
Because I haven't met a third person yet. I only met 2 people so far.
Okay, you'll meet him soon then.
And of course, big thank you to Nintendo for sending us over a review copy of that as well. We greatly appreciate it. Now, gentlemen, very rarely in the show do I get to break in with some amazing hot off the press news. And ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly it. The internet never ceases to amaze me. So whenever you incentivize them with money, they will show up. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to show you we have got our winner for our challenge of Sam Jackson on the plane with Goombas. I'm going to share my screen right now. Bear with me 1 second. Well, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, this is coming to you live off the Nintendo Dads account.
I need to find the scene. Give me a minute.
Okay, you guess I'll wait.
Too late.
And I thought.
Okay.
There it is.
Congratulations, John Wall. I'm tired of these mother effing Goombas on my mother effing plane. We have got a Nintendo Switch eShop card coming to you. And John, this will be our thumbnail for this week's episode as well. Thank you very much. Tim, if you want to maybe put down as our historian, Nintendo Dad's historian on episode 325, our thumbnail art was provided by John Wall of the Mega Dads, involving Samuel L. Jackson.
Don't close that just yet.
And a Goomba.
I got to get that screenshot. All right.
Perfect. This, ladies and gentlemen, is why you attend this train wreck of a show every single week.
I say just go to John's Twitter and pull the source instead of trying to pull the screen grab.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to get that version of it. So show that.
I like how Episol also said, wait, how is Super Animals? I don't know. Episol, I just saw the video for it and it's posted on our Facebook page. But by the way, Super Animals looks like Fortnite cross Animal Crossing, and I am all in on that.
I know. I was dying laughing when I saw that video.
That might be one of the best cut videos I have ever seen, and I am all in on that one.
I was confused that some animals were talking in yibby 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 and some were actually talking English. So I'm like, I don't get it.
Absolutely fantastic. Jesse, do you want to give us we spent a fair bit of time on Pokemon Snap there. You want to give us like a 30-second run or just give me like the biggest game that you've played that you really want to talk about in 30 seconds.
Okay. I played this weekend. I played Raid on Your Parade. It is out on Switch, but I played the Xbox version because it's Game Pass and I didn't have to pay anything additional. It's kind of a puzzle game. It's only think Donut County, where you are in this game you are a cloud that you rain on people, and you are just trying to cause as much havoc as you can. The game gives you several tasks to do. Sometimes to give you hidden tasks that if you do if you do enough of things, they'll be uncovered. And when you beat the game, you open a new game plus. And you can replay the levels again, which gives you additional New Game Plus tasks that requires you to use abilities you didn't have the first time through. Like the first level, you could only rain. You didn't have any other abilities, but the New Game Plus quest on the first stage requires you to use one of your other abilities that you got as you played the game.
Okay. And you're saying it's available on the Switch right now?
It is on the Switch. I think it's 15-ish. It's pretty fun. The newsroom was the one I got stuck on and needed a walkthrough to solve the required puzzle. But other than that, the game almost plays itself. So some of those levels just have no puzzles. It's just get everything wet and you can continue. So there is some thought into some levels, and I enjoyed it. It was like 2 or 3 hours to play through it.
Nice. Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate that. And Tim, let's go over to you. You got a massive list as well. You want to give me
it really quick? Yeah, I can get through it real quick. Essentially, I played Banjo-Kazooie, xCloud, beat Say No More, Overcooked All You Can Eat, Streets of Rage 4, New Pokemon Snap, Super Mario Party, Among Us, Fortnite, Implosion, Skate City, Worlds End Club demo. There you go. That's what I played.
Do you want to, is there one of them you want to highlight the most that maybe was a good one? We've heard of Among Us, we've heard of Fortnite, we've heard of Mario Party, Skate City maybe?
I'll highlight some of the things that I played here. I was just getting through that really quick like you asked.
I appreciate when you do that.
Banjo-Kazooie I played on xCloud because I can't play it on a Nintendo console yet, but I never played that game. So being free in Game Pass, I was able to play it. I started playing. Yes, with Game Pass, I was able to play it there, and I'm sure since I can get to it via the PC through the cloud, through the browser, I might be able to stream it too. So I was looking into that. Probably I'll be able to play a little bit of that on our stream. I beat the game Say No More. I talked about that game before. The people over there that developed the game gave us a code for that, and I did a video on that and finally beat it. Jesse beat it before me, but I finally was able to beat it. So, and that game is hilarious. I highly recommend it for a good laugh. So, Overcooked All You Can Eat. Justin, I know you really like that game. Your family loves it. I finally got it, played it for the first time with Sam.
Oh, did it arrive finally to you?
Yes. I got the physical version.
Did not realize that finally arrived.
Finally got it in the mail from Team 17. They sent it to us, which a big thanks to them. They sent us a physical copy of it to me. So I broke it out over this past weekend and played it with Sam, and again, the game is hilarious, and he had a lot of fun with it. And we actually didn't yell at each other or anything like that. I just kind of helped. He probably didn't like it because I kept telling him, do this, do that. So maybe he didn't like it so much. So let's see. More Streets of Rage 4, new Pokémon Snap we talked about. Super Mario Party I played with Chris and Zablanc, and I forget who else joined. We did the online stuff, which we did a few games before we played Among Us. Mm-hmm. So it actually worked out pretty well. There was no issue other than just trying to get joined up and get going. There was no issue while playing online. It was pretty fun. So I'm sure we'll probably be doing that again in the community soon. Played Fortnite with my daughter and had a lot of fun with that. Implosion is actually an older game. It's a hack and slash type game. And I played the demo and loved every minute of that demo because I love hack and slash games. Mm-hmm. And so I bought the game. It was like $5. So I think on sale. So if you like hack and slash games, and it's a pretty good story too. It's like a apocalyptic type, future game. Nice. And it's pretty fun. Skate City. Again, I got a review code for that and got to take a first look at that and played and got some videos on there, and Twitch got some highlights and here in Twitch, and then also on YouTube, a couple of videos, and our Facebook. Actually, I also posted a music only type video. I think was over there. I think it's also on Twitch because that's where I got it from. But where it's just all the music and me skateboarding to it, so and no talking. It's just me playing the game. But it's a skateboard. It's a 2D skateboarding game. But looks really fantastic, and the graphics, and it's even though it's 2D, it's kind of like Ali, if you will, if you played those games. Mm-hmm. It's very laid back, lo-fi beat music, which was really digging. It's actually pretty relaxing because it's not very complicated to get some moves off in the game. It teaches you very well how to do them progressively, using your sticks to, in each direction to pull off a move, using the left stick or the right stick. And then you throw in the shoulder buttons and you can do some things that way. And it's pretty relaxing, especially with the free skate mode where you just go through and see what moves you can pull off. And then when you get to the pause screen, you can see a list of like 30 moves you can do to check off on your list. So you pull it off, then you can check it off the list. So you get points for that. You get like credits to where once you get the credits, you can go buy and upgrade your move set and what you're wearing for your skater. So there's a lot to be had there. And this particular game for the Switch has 3 cities that you can go do multiple things in, because you can do the free skate or you can do the task objectives right off the to go in and do. So there's 3 cities to do that in. I noticed in the other, if you play outside of Nintendo, like I think it's on Apple Arcade, you can play it there as well. I think they also have DLC that you can play, like in Miami, which is not in the current game on Nintendo, which I'm hoping they'll eventually bring, because that'd be pretty cool to get some DLC for that.
Nice.
So again, I did a first look of it. It's up on our channels there. And then finally, earlier today, I played World's End Club demo, which released, I think, today. Yeah. And the game comes out towards the end of the month, I believe. Mm-hmm. And this game has already got its hooks in me, just because it's different. The animation is different. If the closest thing I can compare it to would be the Gumball show on Cartoon Network.
Okay.
Where I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but they have different animations all in that one animated show, where it's some are hand drawn, some are paper cut, backgrounds realistic and all that. This game kind of has that same feel to it as far as the graphics go. But the story is just crazy. It starts off, I'm not giving anything away because it's in the demo, but basically it starts off with you're in the future with your characters. You are at a point to where you get to the end boss. And before you can get to the end boss, the pre-boss or sub-boss comes down and says, you got to get through me before you can get to the main boss or the main guy. And this group of kids that I'm in was like, okay, let's go. And they start charging, and then all of a sudden they get wiped out. They're just totally annihilated, these kids. And then it flashes back to the time, 1995, I think it was, they're in, and they're riding on a bus going on a school trip somewhere. Which actually, before it even gets to this bus, that when they die, it comes back to the scene where there's this character, kind of like remind me of Saw a little bit, if you've ever seen the Saw movies.
Mm-hmm.
But this character had these kids in a classroom locked up, and if they didn't do some tasks that were on these bands and whatever, that they were going to die or something like that or whatever. And this game gets dark, but it was like that's what was happening on the screen. But then all of a sudden it was like these kids on this bus were watching this show. That was all this was happening, kind of like I said, a Saw movie in a way. And then these kids were on their way to go to wherever they were going on their bus, and then all of a sudden a meteor flies over them and goes and destroys the city and destroys what looks like destroys them, but they end up waking up in an amusement park that's underwater.
That sounds random.
Okay, there's a lot going on there to unpack.
There is so much in the few minutes just starting. I'm just like, I'm all in right now. I can't wait to play more of this. So I can't wait to get back to the demo. So
cool.
That's World's End Club demo.
So what type of gameplay is it? Would you say?
Oh, the gameplay. Yes, that was just the story. The gameplay is platformer crossed with the talking, like I see in a lot of RPGs. Like there's a lot of stopping and talking in RPGs, like I would see in, say, even
I might have to check this demo out.
Shoot, I can't remember the name of the game. The game you like playing, Jesse, the Strikers game that you just played.
Persona?
The sequel to Persona. Thank you. Jeez, I couldn't even think of it. Persona games where there's a lot of talking, and character development there, but it's a platformer. So far it is, at least. I don't know if it changes at all because this is how crazy the game is, but the story does a lot of crazy stuff, kind of like the Chrono Trigger game, in fact, where it does the time travel thing a little bit. So where I'm sure some of the things you're going to do in the past is going to reflect on what's going to happen towards the end of the game again. So yeah, I would say check out the demo. It's really interesting and different, and that's what I like, is being able to check out something interesting and different.
Very cool. I like it. All right, folks, I will give you mine very quickly. Apex Legends.
What?
I know, shocker. Season 9 came out.
Really?
Season 9 is really awesome, and they introduce a brand new mode called Arena Mode, and this is not an LTM or a limited time mode. It is a permanent mode. And so what it is it is a 3v3 small contained area, and before you go into the match, you do a buy just like you would for something like COD or CSGO, and you have a limited amount of money, and you pick out your weapons and your loadouts, and you go in and you fight, and the matches are done super quick, usually less than about 2 to 3 minutes. There's still a storm, and it condenses the areas very quickly. You die and you cycle it again, and you have to win 2 matches in a row. But it can go all the way to like 9 matches, which is pretty cool. And it is a ton of fun. It's very quick games. So it's really giving you the opportunity to offer 2 different variants here. If you learn traditional battle royale, you like to maybe drop at the far edge of the map and kind of scoot your way in, maybe engage a team. It takes about 18 minutes to go through a full game in a battle royale. Traditionally, maybe 18 to 20 if you win. This is, you're into like, you can have potentially 9 matches done in that time, and you're engaged quickly. It's running a counter for your damage. It's running a counter for your kills. It's a ton of fun. Again, it's also free. Apex Legends is free, so check it out if you haven't. But this arena mode is really, really impressive. I'm super impressed with it. Also, it looks like Panic Button also did some work under the hood as well and actually tightened up some of the graphical challenges that the Switch was having. They've done some work. They didn't put out a full press release to announce it, but when you go into Olympus, the primary map for duos or trios, the map actually looks better. Like there used to be some kind of like flickering of graphics, flickering of content coming in. It looks stabilized. So it looks like they've done a lot of work there. And they've also introduced a new character, a new legend by the name of Valkyrie, who's tied into the Titanfall universe and Titanfall 2. And is different than kind of the other Titans because she can actually fly. So that really dynamically changes the game as well. She's a jetpack and she can literally like fly and shoot missiles. And so very difficult to also shoot and kill. So she's got some really interesting features as well. I might argue she may actually be a little bit OP. It'll be interesting to see if they actually make some changes there. And they've introduced also a bow that's coming to the game. So a lot of really cool changes. If you are not playing Apex Legends, that's okay. It may not be for you. This may be the season to jump into it or refresh. I know that when people came in last year or last season, they were halfway through season 8. This may give you an opportunity to jump in and try something new as well.
I wanted to jump out real quick too because Ebisel reminded me that, and I apologize, Ebisel, for not including you in, but Fortnite, when I played it with my daughter, Ebisel also joined my daughter and I, and we did trios. Nice. And we actually did pretty good, although we got caught. We made it to, number 2 a few times, but just couldn't get past that number 1 victory.
Yep.
We got caught by some better players,
Sure.
So, but it was a lot of fun.
Yep.
And, yeah, we had a blast, and thanks to Ebisel for joining us on that. And by the way, he mentioned Fortnite already had an arena.
What arena do they have, Ebisel? And is it LTM or is it a permanent mode? Because it's not. It's an LTM. All right, so that's enough out of you crazy fella. But I agree, it's good. I would also say we'll be putting footage up on our YouTube channel in the next coming days of me playing Arena, actually. So if you're questioning, you want to take a look at it, you can check that video out. It's recorded. I just have to actually get it posted. So that is that. Let's move on to our community spotlight. We've got a couple questions I'm going to try and bundle together here. We're going to try and run through these questions relatively quick because there's a lot here.
Yeah, some of the things here is from last week that I didn't really cover.
Yep, I see you deferred a lot. Thank you. So obviously this week it was May 4th, the Star Wars Day. So we have a couple direct Star Wars questions. Bruce Patterson asks, actually I'll ask the first question. Bruce Patterson asks the whole panel, what is your all-time favorite Star Wars game on any Nintendo system? Marty's answer is Shadows of the Empire for the Nintendo 64. That is also one that I am definitely aligned with as well. That is my favorite, but I'm going to give you my Force Unleashed is my follow-up to that as well. That was really cool on the Wii. Kind of you're able to force push with the nunchucks and use your lightsaber as the Wii. It kind of really felt pretty cool. The game I don't think was brilliantly great, but it felt really awesome. Tim, do you have favorite Star Wars?
I'm trying to think of one on the Nintendo system.
Okay.
I think I played Force Unleashed on the DS actually, which had interesting mechanics because it used the stylus to do certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't say it was my favorite. It was fun, but I have to think about that some. Because I know there was something. I have to think about that a little bit.
Jesse?
Yeah, I don't think I've played many Star Wars games, and I can tell you I have on a Nintendo system. I haven't liked any of them. I might have played some of Force Unleashed on Wii, but didn't get far into it. So like if you take out Nintendo as a limiter, probably my favorite Star Wars game would be The Empire Strikes Back on the Atari 2600.
Okay, fair enough. And Tim, I assume yours would be Last Jedi. Not Last Jedi. What is the game that just came out? Frick, I have it on Stadia. What the heck is it called for Star Wars?
Fallen something?
Come on, Tim. Timothy?
It's not Jedi Fallen Order because it's not on the Nintendo.
No, I know. I'm just saying Jedi Fallen Order. If it wasn't on Nintendo, you would say that, I assume.
So I'm just making sure this was on Nintendo system. So, I think it was.
What game are you talking about? Or
No, I guess not. I was thinking Dark Forces was, but it has to be. There's a first-person Star Wars game on the Nintendo system that I liked. Wasn't Dark Forces?
Nintendo Life has all of the Star Wars games listed, and if I could send you that link, but my laptop just froze. That doesn't help us at all.
No, not Outcast.
Well, Tim is thinking about that. Jesse, maybe you can answer Bruce's next question, which is, what is the worst Star Wars game?
I wouldn't. I don't know. I have only partially played one in the last 10 years, so I wouldn't be the one to answer this.
Okay. I'm going to reply with anything surrounding episode 1 of the Star Wars franchise. Not necessarily because it's horrible, but just because episode 1 is horrible.
Is that including Pod Racer? Because I heard that was actually pretty good.
That may be the exception to that rule. That may be the exception to that rule.
I'm not finding it. I can't find it. There was a first-person shooter on a Nintendo one that I liked. Oh, and it's gonna bother me. I will come back to it at some point.
Okay. All right,
just keep on going.
All right, I'll do this. Jesse, I'm going to throw our next question to you. This is from Zablanc. He asks, it's the year 2073, and you're on your deathbed. Due to planetary limitations, burial is not an option. Only cremation. Also, urns no longer exist. What item in your collection do you want to house your incinerated remains? So what item in your Nintendo collection should hold your incinerated remains?
Well, again, I actually answered this question last week, but left it over for you guys to play with as well. But the answer I gave, not necessarily Nintendo, but I said my pinball machine.
Ooh,
because it's kind of a rare item in the first place, and just adding my what was the word he used? Incinerated remains would just make it more rare.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. I'm going to say that you take out the Super Mario 2 cartridge, you take the screws off, and you take the actual chips out of it, and it's just a case, and it's just in that, just the shell of it left. Much like me, just the shell of a man left in a case of Nintendo games, pitying my life. That's pretty deep. Tim?
Yes, sir.
What about yourself?
What do I want to put my remains in?
Mm-hmm.
I will put it in. You can't see it behind me because of the background, but put it in the Samus cannon gun that I have. Put it in there.
Nice. Okay.
That's where it'll go.
Okay. Mecha Dragon asks, this is a leftover from last week. Nintendo gave you the freedom to create your own Nintendo Dads event. What skit would you do on this direct? And what real or fake games or news will you present? Could be about any actual or fictional game or any news about yourselves. All right. Well, I'm excited to announce that on the Nintendo Dads Direct event that we have been purchased by Nintendo as a full extension wing to create entertainment content in the form of podcasts, Let's Plays, and that they'll be creating our own side-scrolling beat-em-up game, circa kind of looks like the Ninja Turtles game that's coming out, or Scott Pilgrim, but it just forms the four Nintendo Dads, and we have to fight villains throughout this game. And by the way, there's the Mega Dads we have to fight. And by the way, Sean Capri shows up. And by the way, any other podcast that we partnered with or helped with shows up.
Similar to the Evil X's from Scott Pilgrim?
Yeah, sort of like that. Exactly. But it's like evil podcast partners.
Is this made in Game Garage Engine?
Yep, sure is. All of those things that you're saying is exactly what we would want to happen. And then what
Does that
game?
mean we're going to get a budget for this to doing these shows?
Listen, all right. Did we not talk about the war chest earlier? God, you're such a stickler. Okay. And then in regards to other
But
content,
I also said that they don't spend the money.
I'm also happy to announce that we will now release Super Mario 2. We'll have a true proper sequel to that game. We'll also resurrect Earthbound. Tim, I see you down there.
Not Earthbound. It would be Mother 3 1/3.
There you go, Mother 3 1/3.
That's what.
Jesse, what do you want? Some look, it's Bitcross 564.
I honestly I couldn't think of anything last week. I can't think of anything this week. Yeah, the imagination part of creation is the thing I have a problem with. I learned how to do programming, but I can't make any games out of it because I can think of any games to make.
That's fair. Mecha Dragon, isn't Lost Levels basically Super Mario 2? Yes, in Japan it is. Over in the Great White North it is not, but I understand what you're saying. What I'm asking for is a game, the follow-up to Super Mario 2 based on the Doki Doki Panic framework and game where we got Wart.
So you want a Super Mario Brothers 2?
Yes. Why is this so hard to understand? Man, it's
because sequels to games with numbers are weird. I'm looking at
you can call 2.5. I don't care what
Final
you call
Fantasy
it.
13 2, Final Fantasy 10 2.
Elliot asks, who's excited for Super Animal Royale? It's like Happy Tree Friends meets Fortnite. Yeah, we all are. Yep. I think that looks like a lot of fun. Tim, are you excited to kill people?
I am excited about this game. Sammy was trying to figure it out, what is going on here when he watched it, but he's excited about it. And I'm sorry, before I forget, Sammy says hi, of course.
Hi, Sammy.
And but yeah, he's excited about the game, and I'm excited too because of how goofy it looks and crazy it looks. It's just like a Fortnite Animal Crossing crossover thing. Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm all in on that one. Chris asks, how much would you pay for NHL 99 Rewind if it were to become available on the Switch store? $5, $10, $15, or 5 mooses?
I said he put this out on Twitter as well on a poll, and I said $10, but I would pay more if they put more into it, especially if it's its own game. Because right now it's, Rewind is part of NHL 21. You got that with it. I would like a lot of the same game modes that they have in the current game, but put in the Rewind game, if that's even possible. Just make it a full-fledged game, but built on the old school system on the Switch. And I would pay more for that. I'd pay, $20, $30 for that.
Jesse?
Hard pass.
I'm going to tell you the truth is you can't pay for it. It's priceless.
It's priceless.
Is that the answer?
Yeah. And of course, it would be in maple syrup mousses. That's the only true way to do it.
And you pour that all over.
Oh my God, with a little bit of poutine and a little bit of Timbits, eh? Yeah, hosers, get out of here.
That's the topping, is the Timbits.
Oh my God. That's just like covering my nipples. Do you know what I'm saying? Just nips of Timbits, That's what we're doing.
Tim Nips.
Tim Nips. We're not naming the show Tim Nips because unfortunately Sam Jacksons and Goombas are definitely where it needs to be.
We're
right
good
now.
there. And also real quick, actually, something that I forgot about that I should have mentioned in regards to the Star Wars games, my favorites is the Lego Star Wars games. Those are my favorites.
Those are good. Those are very good.
I'm just going to all encompassing all the Star Wars Lego games.
Yeah, they do well by those, don't they?
Yes.
All right. Andros asks the following question. I saw a thread online about how if you take away Nintendo's ports and games that had DLC, there's not a lot left in the Switch library. I'm curious what everyone else thinks about that perspective. Personally, I think ports are great, and games with DLC are just becoming a norm and a lot of fun. Nintendo has definitely made sure a game is finished before releasing it. The DLC has all usually additional bonus stuff, in my opinion. I think nowadays, and I was saying this, and I know Andrew Ross was on again. Check if you were interested. more, we had a conversation with us as well. Check out, I was on the Nintendo Pals podcast recently as well. I think Nintendo is doing just fine. I think the Switch is the first console they've really leaned into their DLC strategy with it. I also feel like their DLC strategy is not to patch broken games, but rather to truly add value or additional content to it. Sometimes I question why when it's positioned. Great examples like before Breath of the Wild was even released, you're like, and there's an expansion pass. And you're like, well, hold on a second. That seems a little bit like jarring. But for the most part, they've been able to find out when the appropriate time is to do it. I think it's a great strategy. It continues to bring people into games. It continues to add values to a game. And this is really actually kind of keeping up pace with what we see with so many of the other games in the industry right now. Example, Division 2 just came out with like a huge, massive timeline for everything that's going on Division. Anything that you're seeing from Assassin's Creed is always a long-term strategy, right? And the methodologies that you see for battle royales is essentially is DLCs and updates associated with it as well. We're seeing it right now for Gods and Monsters, Immortal Phoenix Rising, right? These are just becoming common components of it. The reasoning there is very simple. Game companies know that you have a limited amount of time. So we want to keep you in our game. And so what we want you to do is to invest more money, invest more time in it. And that becomes, if you're more likely to invest more time and money in something, that's where you spend your time and energy when you know that your time and energy are pulled into different ways. So it's kind of that idea of like, I'm just going to really, drink out of this one fire hose, not out of every other fire hose, but just this one. And I think it's a really interesting strategy. I also think ports are absolutely critical. Ports have the opportunity to kind of pad out a library potentially that we're seeing, that we did see some gaps in that. And by the way, the ports that have come over for the Wii U, yes, some of us already have them. Boo-hoo-hoo. There's 13 million of you, okay? That might have had all the games beforehand. That means that there's about 72 million people who haven't played these games. So simmer down, okay? Simmer down. They do a really great job of introducing these games and I think adding value to them. And I think they've done a great job. So I'm done.
I didn't understand why they chose the DLC as part of that list. I would understand the list more when they looked at all the Nintendo first parties and pulled out just the ports. Because I didn't understand why they also included all the games that received DLC. That made no sense to me whatsoever in their argument of Nintendo has nothing when you take away their ports and all the games that had DLC. We want their games to have DLC because we like their games. And if you're a fan of that particular game, you're going to want more of it. So you want DLC. So why are you taking that away from a list, especially if it's a new game?
I think the same can be said of the other platforms too.
Yeah.
And I think if you do that, the Switch's library probably looks better.
Yes.
Yeah.
How many times are they remaking Resident Evil 4, 6, Final Fantasy 7?
I like the fact that they're doing ports or remakes or whatever and bring them over to the latest system because it allows me the opportunity to play them again. Or if I missed it, it allows me to play it. Like you said, you bring up a really good point too. Those ports are meant for those people who didn't have a Wii U, and that's why they brought them over so that they can make the money back on those things that they didn't make before. So
does that mean we're going to see a Persona Q2 port to Switch?
And the thing that also like boggles my mind is these are also the same people who are like, where is my Ocarina of Time port to the Switch? Where is my Majora's Mask port? I'm waiting for my Majora's Mask collection.
Give me all the Zeldas ported.
Yeah, you're
over.
like, well, what do you think that is? Like, give your head a shake. And also, just as a reference point, if you don't like the strategy for ports or for DLCs, you don't need to buy them.
Right. And it also comes down to a lot of the other people, I guess, and I understand the argument, but there's a lot of people who say there's nothing to play on the Switch. And I think they're looking for the first party stuff, right? They didn't buy the Switch to play all the other third parties or the indies or anything like that. Even though there's a ton of things to play, a lot of the people who are buying a Switch are buying it for the Nintendo games, first parties, and they're not getting it. And that's why they're looking for those games. Especially if that's all they buy the Nintendo for. And they did buy that. They buy Nintendo systems every time. They buy those games, Nintendo games, all the time. And then when you were the one that bought all those games on the Wii U system, and then they're bringing them all over to the Switch, you're like, oh, I already have all that. There's nothing for me to play. I totally understand.
These are the people that only buy 7 games.
Yeah, or one.
Yep. Sparky asks, hopefully you're all keeping well. I look forward to the latest show. As a fellow busy Nintendo dad, I had to move away from the big epic 40-hour plus games, and now I'm very happy and content with tackling 4 to 5 hour games, which I know if I enjoy, I'll finish. And it feels like there's less pressure on you as well. Currently, I'm really enjoying Wander Song. Have you tried this? Often these are indie games and offer a fresh experience. Don't be in a rush to keep the shows tight, by the way. The long rambling ones are the best. Keep up the great work. Listen, Sparky, this guy's in charge today. All right. I apologize for moving us forward, but that's a great question there as well. Have anyone played Wander Song?
I've never heard of it.
I have heard of it. I have not played it though.
Yeah.
Time is my enemy when it comes to games.
Yeah,
so.
I tend to agree with you as well, Sparky. I'm a really I do enjoy, indie games for the most part are kind of that sweet spot, and that 4 to 5 hour game, right, kind of sits in that nice pocket where you have that opportunity, and I think it's also sometimes like a nice palate cleanser in some ways from these long epic ones, and that's one of the challenges that I think we've all discussed as parents or as in gaming, right, is you don't have the time you used to. Right. Like you just even if you're like, oh man, I've got 8 hours to sit around and play video games on a Saturday because everyone's out doing something, like you don't actually have that time. Like something else will show up. You're going to do something. You're going to repair something. You're going to mow a lawn or something. I'm very much like you. I'm like, I enjoy those little experiences, 4 to 5 hours. If it does a great job of telling me a story and does their narrative and is compelling, then I'm in. That's one of the reasons why, for example, like some JRPGs and just don't interest me, right? Because it's just like I just don't have the time. This is way too much. And this is a bit of the challenge of like, I know that everyone was super excited for Monster Hunter, and I was like, oh man, I should jump into Monster Hunter. And I know Tim was into it, and I was like, I should do it. And then I'm like, I do not have the time or energy in my brain to try and figure that game out. I just don't. And so if that's like your one thing, then cool. But I'm like, I got way too many other games. One of the games I might recommend actually for you, Sparky, if you're looking for a good indie game, is a game called Nuts. And it is about a squirrel, and it's about watching squirrels, and it's about 4 to 5 hours. And it's kind of a fun, kind of just like casual go through it. Firewatch is another great example of this game as well, or games like this as well. Tim, am I correct? I think Oxenfree is about 4 to 5 hours as well. Fez, like these short, small kind of indies, darling kind of games that are just really good.
I don't remember exactly how long those games are. I usually have to refer to how long to beat to go and check that. But definitely, I agree. Those are the same type of things I like to play because of my time limit, and it gives me the opportunity to actually finish a game. So. Yep. Like Say No More is actually a pretty short game that Jesse and I both beat. That was like under 3 hours, 2 hours, Jesse? So, or 4 hours. So
I think 3 to 4.
Yeah. So, and then what was the other one that I just said too? Is That's Not a Game.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's pretty short too. My son beat that. Yeah. So I agree. A lot of those indie games are a lot of fun, and that's why I like the Switch. Is when Nintendo's doesn't have their game out or a big game I wasn't looking forward to, I like the indie games to go to.
I looked up Wander Song. It did release on the Switch end of September of 2018.
Okay, nice.
And Fez is 8 hours.
Okay, so a little bit longer than I thought. Mecha Dragon asks, with Game Builder Garage finally coming to the Switch, are we finally going to get the Nintendo Dads the game that the fans want? Oh, we should maybe that's a contest we should run. I would love to see our community create Nintendo Dad's game, the game. What does that look like? What do you think that is?
We got so many things going on, don't we?
Why not? You know what I'm saying? Let's go.
Are we going to remember
Nintendo buying us out? We're going to have a movie.
Yeah.
We're going to have a game.
Yeah.
We're just all going all out here.
That's why you should really invest in our Nintendo Dads company right now. Head over to patreon.com/Nintendo Dads.
We're going to release Nintendo Dad coins that you can mine. So at point 0.00000000001.
Yep.
Start.
I'll buy 100,000.
Okay.
And then cash out when it reaches 10 cents.
Speaking of content regarding the Game Builder Garage, Onyx says, How could this get children or adults to actually try and learn to code? Is this just another niche product? Thoughts? As someone who's a beginner coder, it looks way better than looking at a shell. Looks engaging. So Onyx sounds like they're definitely in for, is it a niche product? It's definitely a niche product. It's an educational tool. Yeah. But you have 85 million Switches in the wild. This is such a great accessibility tool. And if we can get kids to learn how to code it, but I think we've answered this before, but I think the target audience is anyone who might be interested. So.
Yep. And when the Game Builder Garage comes out, I'm sure the community and Discord will have a lot of fun in trying to figure out that Nintendo Dads game.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the Nintendo Dads game.
Yeah, so and especially like I mentioned earlier, or what was mentioned in the notes before, was that you can collaborate on that. You share the code and share it with people, and you'll be able to collaborate. So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun to figure that out.
Absolutely.
I'll have to create a page for that.
There you go. You will. We've got two final questions here. Screen Nerds Podcast asks, Nintendo has said they're interested in doing more features besides Mario. What other franchise would you want to see as a featured film? This is a low-hanging fruit for you, Tim. What's it going to be?
Geez, I don't know. Let me think about that. No, Metroid, of course. Come on.
Metroid, of course.
Metroid feature film. Remember when there used to be a rumor that was it John Woo was going to direct a Metroid movie?
Yep.
And
there was a short that was released.
Yeah,
I think it was Jessica Shoba was.
Yes.
Premise.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty cool.
Yep. So there's I think it would make a really good movie. Let's hope Nintendo does well on their movie front and does that eventually.
Ninfrendo asks in the chat, how many platinum coins equals a Nintendo Dad's coin?
All of them.
I love that question. Jesse?
I was thinking like an Animal Crossing movie, but with the animals as detailed and textured as Detective Pikachu and that set of Pokemon.
Interesting. Okay.
So more CGI than animation.
I am going to give you, so maybe it's more of a TV show than anything else, but I'm going to give you Donkey Kong Country in the art style of the new DuckTales show.
I would like that.
And I think like you have all of your characters: Diddy Kong, Donkey Kong, Dixie Kong, Funky Kong.
Just as long as they don't do
Kong.
CGI on that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it, right? So very cool. Last question, ladies and gentlemen. This is, again, I think it's appropriate to end the fact that this is in Star Wars week, May the 4th. Bruce Patterson asks, here we go.
Jedi Fallen Order. End of question. Time to go. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Battlefront 2, Jedi Fallen Order, or Squadrons for the Nintendo Switch. Only choose one. I'm also going to say Jedi Fallen Order.
I have no opinion.
Jesse backs us up. He goes with us. That's good. All right. Jedi Fallen Order wins.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. That is all of our questions. Man, did we powered through some of those as well. I'm just going to scan. Did we miss any? We did not. That is, folks, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Wow, what a show. What a show indeed. There were some real ups and downs on it. Do you know what I mean? There was a real journey. There was some excitement about numbers. We talked about Metroid not coming to Fortnite. There was some sadness. We then talked about some new games coming up. Garage thing looks really cool. I had a 20-minute power nap. Well, you guys talked about Pokémon Snap, and we got Samuel L. Jackson and some Goombas on a mother effing plane. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 325 of the Nintendo Dads podcast. Thank you so much for being here. If you're in our Twitch chat or YouTube chat, hopefully you've enjoyed the show. I appreciate your commentary, your feedback. We are so thankful that you are here as well. Tim, do you want to take us out? Do you want to close this thing? I've been talking a lot.
I will give it a go for the first time ever. Hopefully I can get through it. So we'll say, starting off with YouTube, thanks for getting us to 5,500 subscribers, to all those to subscribe to us. Thank you very much. As well as over on Twitch, thanks for the 1,000 followers, and keep them coming. We want to just keep it growing, and we also want to get the amount of watchers watching us and subscribers watching us so that we can eventually get affiliate level or whatever it is.
Yep.
So eventually we'll get there. But thank you to those 15 Twitch subscribers we had, and those who actually have been watching with us live too. So, but don't forget, if you're a Twitch subscriber, you can also get access to our Discord and the activities we got going on there, like our monthly mayhem, our bi-weekly community gaming nights, and all that, and many more things. Check out our mech store, our merch store via tpublic.com. Huge thanks to our Patreon producers, Chris Mears, David Ernsberger, Antonio Contrario. I always mess up his last name. I'm sorry, Antonio. Christopher Waring and Solo Something. Thank you guys for that. And also check out our website, nintendodads.org, where you can get our latest video links, tweets, and podcast episodes, links to all of our social media, and our Patreon page. As well as Nintendo Dad's shop for Nintendo Dad's merch can be linked there as well. And also Extra Life is linked there as well. So we always get that linked up right away because we're going to do that later this year. Or you can also find us in most places like Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube by typing Nintendo Dads in any of those places and you'll find us. Or you can email us at nintendodads@gmail.com, or you can call in and leave a voicemail at 929-25-NDADS or 929-25-6-3237. Big thanks to OC Remix for the music throughout the show. Downloads from your favorite podcast app of choice like CastBox, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, or Spotify. And don't forget to leave your reviews on Apple, iTunes, that place where the only place you can leave a review of us. Leave something there with 5 stars. Leave the 3 stars and below for the Mega Dads. That's it. Thank you. I did it. I got through it. Good night, everybody.
Nice. Ladies and gentlemen, Tim's hired. Well done. Well done. That was the final part. You passed your probation period.
Thank you for listening to Nintendo Dads.
We sound like the goddamn Nintendo dads all of a sudden.
Maple syrup mousses.